Ay, what's up everybody? What's up gamers? Kamusta kayong lahat? Oh god. It's happening mga buddy, ang ating PUBG Mobile Grand Finals Day 2. Panoorin natin ang madugong bakbakan para sa kampyonato mga buddy. Andito na naman tayo syempre to witness who is gonna win sa ating PUBG Mobile Global Championship. Ay, tune in everybody and witness itong madugong bakbakan ito mga buddy. What's up sa mga naka-tune in? Kamusta ang lahat?
They would probably be quite the formidable team. You know, we saw them take fights against Stalwart yesterday on Miramar, and they looked pretty good for it. There was just a little bit of impatience, which left a lot on Paul Jonathan's shoulders towards the end of that fight. And I think that fight could have gone a lot differently, personally.
400 nag-tune in. Magandang gabi sa inyo lahat. Kamusta kayo?
The best teams, someone has to be in 16.
Grabe, men, dito na po ito. So, talagang, uy, first blood? First blood?
They went all the way back up to Severny.
Down dito?
Now it's like, jumper, not going to have
Ang
the
isa
best
sa,
of luck
oh
there,
no,
going down.
down dito ang Team
Getting
Secret
eliminated,
mga
Kid still
buddy.
yet to make it in.
Oh my
Was pretty low on
goodness.
health as well. The next shift just about to come through, and it is the mainland, so no chicanery around those bridges.
Yeah, and this is why you see no one heading down towards that South Island. Like I said, there are so many
First
places
game natin
on
to
North
sa ating
Orango where it's
day 2.
difficult to get the heel dug in, right?
Kung name niyo po, sali ako idol. 3 hours na naman to. Oo, mga 3 hours to, for sure. Pasigaw idol, huge bet. Binabating na ako, patay na naman. Nice shot, nice shot.
Judy spraying around on the swivel and godlike. Fall of the hurdle, down one gaming.
Godlike
have one knock as well.
is out of the game. Oh my
position.
goodness.
Great crossfires.
Sheesh.
I think we've seen that from them
What
before
happened?
in these garage buildings. The crossfires from down one are so strong.
Exactly. Now, the thing is I can bring this back a little bit further again, and it's that impatience. You know, you have Clutch God in the building. You see Damwon flit out from the left side. They have all 4 players on that building before you're even in contention. And at that point, there needs to be that step back from whoever is IGLing on the team at that time to say, we can afford to lose one player. And I think that, you know,
Kevon Hypokian,
sacrifices
Ross,
sometimes
binabati kita
have to make
Kian,
in
what's
these
up?
matches if
John
you want to
Win,
make
leave
the most
Billionaire
out of
ba?
this point. Now, Godlike,
Tune in guys and witness
respectful as it is, they
who's
do
gonna
go
win.
down
Oh,
as a
nice shot
team every
by
single
Infin.
time. But
Mela.
I would much prefer to see them as a 2. You know, we saw Stalwart pull off something similar to that yesterday on Miramar, playing as a 2 and getting 5th place. That's actually quite a few placement points that you were accruing and getting that consistency on board, which is why I say that about Godlike. It's that their mechanical skill and rotations look strong, but it's sometimes that inability to pull back and look at the bigger picture.
6-8 under fire from Nova, and the Infinity are right next to them on the hillsides as well. Newsy looking to put the name on through. Daoshi out wide, spots Godtani up the top, but doesn't drop him just yet. Newsy under threat, and he is just going to get rolled straight on over. A little bit too bold there from Newsy. The Infinity lose a player. 6-8. They want to take this fight with the Infinity. They want to keep going. Nades up the top of Godtani and Logan. Up to bat against Daoshi. The nade over the top looks good, but across the way, Mela has the back of his teammates. And the Infinity might just survive for a little bit longer. Daoshi down.
Fantastic bloody angle here from Mela. I don't know how he got off this side, but he is tearing 6-8 apart as we speak.
Down dito ang Team SD. Ayan na.
Oh, that's a beautiful
my
way to
God.
finish it off. You know, you can never really count the Infinity out, especially when they play these off angles so damn well. And now, 6-8, just down to 33Z in the shack all alone, and there's bullets coming in his direction. He's going to get pincered. I don't think he's long for this world.
The nades as well from Mela. Instrumental in that last engagement for the Infinity. 33Z's position is fully known.
Ayan na
now.
ang granada. Papasok ba? Hindi pumasok.
Maybe going to be able to post one.
It's a one-on-one situation dito. SDE versus
33 Z
Ooh,
pushed
nice
out the back.
kills.
Knows he needs to take one
Nice
fight
shots
or other.
by
And
Infin
Mela's gonna be the
SDE
choice
versus
that he makes.
Mela, mga buddy. Eto na.
Out in the
Nako,
open.
down dito.
It's just going to get cut down. Mela, beautiful position, beautiful play. The Infinity, very proud of that.
SDE
that
is
doesn't
out of the
happen
game.
unless they have
And
Mela
at the same
involved
time,
in
on
that
Team
fight.
Secret
That should have
is
been
out
an easy
of
team
the
wipe,
game.
4-6-2-8, but they didn't compensate for
Ang
that
bilis
player
ng
in the back.
pangyayari.
And who would? Let's be realistic. Who would compensate for a player over
Christian
towards the shank on your backside?
Aliligay. What's
Completely
up,
separate
Christian?
from the team.
Nabati kita.
Someone hit the Wizard Tower, but Nova hits here to receive them. And Junie from Jimmy just gets shot out from underneath the truck.
Oh no, 3 players already down. Junie is going to
Wow.
bleed out there, Fabian. No way of getting that one back up. Down 1 Gaming, 3 players alive. Is it the cost that they were willing to pay for this center circle position? I mean, if you've got 1 player in there and nobody else now as the remaining players get swept up into the point tallies of other teams,
Ayan na ang
Fabian, last player,
Molotov.
is it worth it? Losing those 3 players to get this position? I gotta think it isn't.
Absolutely not. Nice Molotov comes through
Grabe
as well.
yung
Burns at
Molotov dun,
Fabian's feet.
Dead talaga.
Gets away from the Burns.
Ayan na, Team
Honestly,
NRX
I would
versus
say it's
A7.
worth it if you can get at least 3 players alive, because there's
It's
no
a
hope
4
in hell now
versus
that Fabian
4
holds that
situation, mga buddy.
A7 coming against Next Ruya, so it's the Battle of the West here. A7 trying to put themselves back on top, but Next Ruya doing a good job of it. Frozen takes down 1.
Boom!
Again, A7's
Oh
coming into
my
this fight with
God.
3 after that little skirmish with Team Secret
Grabe
earlier
namang
on.
granada yun.
With an early knock against Next Ruya, that allowed Alpha 7 to even the numbers just that little bit. And now it's only Yekta left for Next Ruya. Mafioso gets that res onto Center Texas. Rio. Very close by, and actually, they're taking shots over towards Furious Gaming as well on this northern side. And at the moment, Next Ruya really struggling. Frozen crawling back to the bunker. I think Korea might just figure out what's going on here. Or maybe not, because he's more preoccupied with Dick Xavier.
NRX. Naku
Absolutely
po, down
no
ng
idea
NRX
what's
dito,
going on
mga
at the
buddy.
moment from A7. They're completely clueless to this, but A7, I think they have the bead now, but they still just careen on past. Next Ruya have stayed hidden in the bunkers.
Okay, and they managed to get the res in the meantime as well. Frozen's got the heal off, and now Alpha 7. Sure, they've taken down 2
Ayan
players
na,
from Next
A7
Ruya, but when
versus
Frozen's
NRX.
involved, you never know what can happen. Nades over the top, and Carrillo is going to find
He
out,
knows.
and they're still
Woo!
alive. He knows, but they know as well. And Carrillo
Naku
looks
po,
for more,
dead,
can't
man.
quite find the
Nice shot,
the
nice
shift
shot. There's a
off
1
there,
versus
but
4
Frozen's up for
situation,
1,
mga
and it's just
buddy.
Mafioso left now.
Granada,
For Alpha
ayan na.
7, a nade, a Molotov
Wow.
over the top, and Carrillo can't crawl
Ako,
backwards.
ayan na yung grenade.
Can he
Bakit?
pay back Yekta for the res from earlier? Senatexa is bleeding out as well. Mafioso needs these reses.
It's a fantastic Molotov being sent through
Boom,
once
sayang.
again, which is going to stop anyone from getting close to res up Carrillo. So what Next Ruya at the moment are trying to make happen is a
Grabing
2v2
mga
fight there.
granada
I
nila dito.
love this from Frozen, constantly thinking
level.
ahead. So what though, down to just 1 in action. See if he can keep this dream alive for them, but Fenerbahce raining just destruction upon their heads.
Granada
Right on the
grenades
top
after
there with
grenades,
those
oh.
nades. So difficult to move.
Ed,
and
oh
they will be going
my
down.
goodness.
Out eliminated.
STE is
13
out of the game,
circle
mga
shift
buddy.
Centrally.
Oh my
So everybody on those edges are going to have to move.
Pa-shoutout
Next
kay Von
week
Yam,
we'll
Ki
have
Ablon, ha.
to
Binabati
disengage.
tayong
They've
team.
been in for
Ay,
a
ang
while
team.
now. Fenerbahce a
Navi.
little bit on the back foot here. Nigma
Pinabakbakan
Galaxy
dito
are in
ang
the way on the
FG.
northern side, but Navi vying for these hilltops.
I think with Navi playing from North George, they've done a fantastic job to just slip in unnoticed, honestly, at this point in time. Meku with an unbelievable shot from along the way will take down
party
that
peeps.
player from Furious Gaming. And I think this is what everyone wanted to see from Navi, is a little bit more pacing towards the beginning of the game before they unleash the beast in the end game itself. And I love to see it for one personally, John. I don't know about you. Nigma Galaxy, though, they're on that northern side, still with 4 players alive. I really respect this. I do think that Nigma Galaxy has this little hidden ability to find their way into circles, which probably no one else would find those gaps with it.
Somehow they're like the
Hi kayo kay Ate Carlin nyo.
whatever the plural of octopus
Ate
is.
Carlin, ay
I
shoutout
have
daw.
no idea.
Please.
Oh dear, that's a cut down and a half. S2G, take care of Fenerbahce,
Mari.
send them packing.
Back their way, 4 rivals. It's that 20-minute mark, and now it's time for the Hail Mary, I would imagine. typically what happens for rivals, but maybe it'll change. Yeah,
BAKBAKAN,
goes
no?
down, Frozen
Oh,
finds
God.
the high ground, and once again, this man
Patay ang
clutches
A7
it
dito.
when no one else can.
Puts the enemies on ice and keeps his
Grenades
team alive.
after
With two
grenades,
players
mga
as well,
buddy.
they can still keep on moving through this terrain. They do
Forever.
have the Xavier to their south and Enigma Galaxy to their west. But Enigma Galaxy, they keep taking a fight. They've been taking punishment. Na'Vi a little bit further across the way, and there's shots ringing out across these hills.
So typical
Nag-aagawan sila sa position
Na'Vi
lab.
of just sweeping from one side of the map, be it west or east. Really good stuff. The Infinity next on the list, though. Tixie's moving up, and I don't think he has any idea of where Logan or God Tunny currently are. Starts to look in their direction now, though, with a nade and smokes in hand.
Yeah, they're going to know now. The nades start to come through from the Infinity. And they are just going to back it off. Tixie doesn't want to take this trouble. But downhill, he's got a teammate, and now Meku's a little bit isolated into the fight. A nade over the top.
Grabe yung
Finds
grenade ng
God Tunny
Na'Vi
and
doon sa
Logan now.
Invin, mga buddy. Ayun na, pinupush na po.
Standing,
Pinupush
well,
na.
not standing actually, sorry.
Oh
Mela's
my
off in the,
goodness
off
gracious,
in the
ayun na,
distance.
papasukin
As
na
was
po
in
ng
their
Na'Vi.
crucial engagement, but this
Na
time
ang
around not going
Invin
to be
daw na
quite
po
as
dito.
useful.
Invin,
Doesn't have those
Invin
sightlines.
will
God
be
Tunny goes down. Logan spotted out.
eliminated dito.
Matic gets the first
Sa liga
tag,
na ito.
but it's Tixie to do the job.
Jeez!
Picks it up
1,
there.
2,
Nova's
3,
still on
4,
that south
5,
side,
6,
but there are
6.
shots raining
Seven
through
teams.
from S2G,
I mean,
who is
seven.
whistling and past
The
Nova
6
at the
teams
moment.
remaining.
I'm practically here the heat of the bullet passed by their ears. Four rivals went for that Hail Mary towards the
teams
center
remaining,
of the
mga
map. They're
buddy.
fairly open, to
Shout
be
out
quite
po.
honest with you. And with so many teams around you, it's a little bit of a
Give one
dangerous
for
spot.
shout
If they
out,
can
please,
hold on to
Kevin,
it,
John
it will be
Portorio.
a wonderful play here
Wala,
made
di
by
ka
them.
nag-vlog.
Xavier mounting up, moving central. They have four rivals ahead of them in S2G. At the back, Rabbiz trying to suppress, but here comes the wave from S2G. Seven said he wanted to see more from this team. We'll see if they're going to start to stand up today. See if they've developed, but the first goes the way of Dark for Xavier. And around the side, they're not finding anything in response. Rabbiz is taking damage, but Lamborghini's pushing that nade to the back there, keeping them bunched up, knowing they don't have the off angles. Finally, a knock comes in response, but Lamborghini's gained ground in the meantime. Rip 7 falls, Silas Poor crawling forwards, maybe looking for Lamborghini, but Timber getting that res on the back line. Xavier keeping themselves cohesive as well. Frankie falls, Lamborghini now in the sights of Silas, but he falls to a drop shot. Duck knocked in the meantime.
Naku po, isa na lang po nakatayo dito sa S2G, mga buddy. Tignan natin kung talagang...
And Lamborghini
Woo!
gets
Napatay niya
dunked
pa.
on. S2G
Okay, so kaya niya pang i-revive yung mga tropa niya doon.
That
Pero
sports car
syempre,
comes to a halting stop there at
unti-unting
the end of
lumilit
that
ang
fight
kanilang
between
chance dahil
S2G as well as the
lumilit ang
boys
circle.
from Xavier.
Four rivals
Na'Vi
still
though now
standing
trying to
strong.
mount some kind of
At
position, but
Na'Vi
they're playing
still standing
uphill.
strong, mga
Can
buddy.
they trudge their way
At
up
eto,
this
tingnan
muddy
natin kung
hillside
anong
to
gagawin
four
ng four
rivals
rivals
position
dito
who
dahil
are playing
nakikita
king of the
nila
hill at the moment?
yung Team Envy nasa may ibaba lang sa
Four
may
rivals,
puno.
they've been that centerpiece of this circle for quite a while
mobile
now.
yan eh.
And RV have other ideas. Meku still on that off angle. Nova, a difficult push from the
Ako,
south.
yan na yung granada, patay sila. Boom! What a grenade by
Nice one off the rim there.
Na'Vi!
I'll take them down to
Oh
just
my
3.
goodness
Already some more
gracious.
bullets been
Shout
sent
out po
their
kay
way.
Lin
Great
Matt
angle here from
Pamarangko
Meku as
lang
the
daw.
rest of the team storm the
Pamarangko.
position.
Hi,
And
Matt.
four rivals have nothing in return.
Yung streamer
Tixie
na
just
si Ate Curly
moves
niyo.
forwards, a hot knife through the butter of this terrain.
Paan?
All
Emperor,
in one.
This smoke could prove to be
Singer,
tricky
dancer,
for S2G.
streamer,
Then pressuring
YouTuber,
the other
streamer,
side, caught in a vice grip.
artister.
Four rivals need to turn
artister.
to diamonds now. Jason would say,
Ayan na,
but S2G
binabanatan. Oh
now
my
up to
goodness.
fight with Na'Vi.
Uy!
Four rivals still
Down
have their
dito
player
ang
alive. Nick the
Team
Galaxy.
NG.
A side
NGX
quest right now
will be
for Na'Vi,
eliminated
but there
dito
is
sa
still
laban
a
na
little
ito.
bit of
Ayan
damage
na.
to be taken. Nova
Out of the
moving up
game,
the
but
back as well
let's
as
see kung anong
S2G
diskarte ang
turn
gagawin ng
attention
Na'Vi
elsewhere
dito.
as well.
It's a
And
4
Na'Vi, no
teams.
ball pushing for the top of Pemperu.
Situation, ayan na.
Just too good,
Down na
just
po ang
there in time.
four rivals
And does
dito.
go down. Four
Yes.
rivals down in fourth.
Okay,
Na'Vi
S2G,
down.
Na'Vi.
One player
Dalawa na
not
lang
on the
sila.
sidelines. Nova struggling
NV.
to move up here as S2G.
Ako po, eto mga
Are gonna get
buddy.
taken out as well. Two teams remain.
Napakagandang laban na nito.
this though.
3
Jimmy will
versus
bring
4
kickback in action, and Nova has
situation.
bided their time to pick up the high ground once again.
Ayan na,
Whilst
ayan
Na'Vi
na.
takes the
Tingnan
fair
natin kung
brunt
anong
of a lot
klaseng
of the teams
galawan, kung
looking
anong
their
klaseng
way.
bumba na
We felt
mangyayari
like Na'Vi was the main
dito.
character here, but it's Nova who's on the main story quest
laban
line
na to.
at the moment looking.
Navi,
to
kanino ka
take
dyan?
down
Navi o
Na'Vi
Envy?
here. King up on their feet, but it's
Envy.
3 versus
Kasi apat pa
4.
sila eh.
Navi's gonna have
Yung
to
Navi,
pull
tatlo na lang eh.
something absolutely unbelievable.
Tingnan
out of
natin
the
kung
pocket
anong
here to make
klaseng
this happen.
labanan.
The good news
Diskarte.
for Na'Vi is that
Ang
they have the
ipapakita
circle under
dito
their control, but
ng
with
Navi,
4
eto
players,
Navi
those sight lines
nakagilisot
are
talagang
so
hindi po siya
valuable
makikita
for Nova.
dito dahil para siyang tumatakbo na
Navi
damo.
step up
Eto,
yesterday. It
naku
seems
po,
like they're
binanatan ng
carrying that
Navi.
matchup.
It's a 3
Order
versus
goes
3
down first.
situation mga
Excellent
buddy.
strength
Oh
coming
my
from
goodness,
Dixie.
Navi. Eto,
One of the crucial members of Nova.
may tumatakbo na damo, hindi mo nakita yun. May tumatakbong damo eh. Dumapa na ang damo. Dumapa na ang damo. Ito, banat lang ng banat. Hindi niya alam kung sino binang... Ayan na ang grenade! Patay! Boom!
Hopefully won't
Okay,
get to
so ilan lang
Paraboy
sila?
Falls as well.
Uy,
And King and
gagi!
Jimmy
Lamang na ang
left to
Navi!
stand tall for
This is
Nova.
a 3
The
versus 2
players
situation,
who
3
have
versus
lost
2
their main
situation
flaggers
mga
here,
buddy!
but they are
Okay,
great
naku,
in their own
napapalibutan na po
right.
sila dito.
And
Talagang
Kitsune
bakbakan ng
down the
bakbakan
hill.
dito.
Look
Eto,
for
3
the shot.
versus
He's
1.
moved out wide.
Mukhang,
And King
mukhang
now up for the sidelines.
mamamatay na po dito ang Envy. 3 versus 1 situation. Paano niya makaklutch to?
They know his position.
Naku,
They know exactly
GG.
what's going on here. And it's only a
It's
matter of time
GG.
before Na'Vi take
Good game.
dinner.
Well
Na'Vi
played.
looking
Para
like a
sa team
well-trained
Na'Vi.
robot in those last moments. They
Yan,
had
sige,
designated
Na'Vi.
positions. They were pre-programmed to head over
Grabe yun.
towards.
Well,
The
naman,
split
diba?
there at the end was
Pinapanood
just
natin yung mga yan
mechanical.
para
You'd love to
maobserbahan
see it,
kung
honestly,
anong
coming
kanilang
through from
galawan.
Na'Vi. And they played that game
Para kapag
practically perfectly. Even
ang
down to 3,
Billionaire
they
gang
knew what they
Pubg
had to do in
protein
that
na
situation.
pumunta dyan.
The immediate
Dudurugin
split
natin ang
allows
Na'Vi.
them to pick off
Alam mo sinong
Order,
import
who was
player
just
natin
splitting
sa
a little
PUBG?
bit too late in that
Ate
situation.
Carlin.
The worst part about it, John, being that Order was playing backstop for
Si Ate
Nova.
Carlin yung
Once he goes
pinakamagaling
down, the rest
mag-PUBG.
of Nova is in disarray with Paraboy trying to get into the circle outside the blue. And yeah, a lot of that game
Yan,
did
alis na po
rely
si
on
Ate
them
Carlin nyo.
actually
Babay
having
po
the
kayo.
circle in the first place, but they able to play
Jasper
that 3
Mark,
versus
what's up,
4
Jasper Mark?
against Nova, who's
Ashley
been on
James.
fire recently.
Shout out
is
kay Von
impressive.
Ashley. Binabati kita.
Absolutely. I mean, that was
Oo,
phenomenal.
tapos na yung photoshoot.
To be able to go through
Guys,
all of that,
balik kami
come
ha.
out on top. The streak for the West is good.
Makinig
And
muna
Na'Vi
kayo ng
repping
syempre
the West
commentate
themselves.
natin dyan kung anong klaseng galawan ng pinakita ng Na'Vi. Guys, I will
Call
be
him
back
Eiffel
in a while.
65 because John is blue. East cannot live up to the hype as West comes out strong and Na'Vi take themselves a much-needed chicken dinner. But more importantly, they do it with 15 eliminations as well. We talked about Na'Vi yesterday. They were at the bottom, or towards the bottom of the table, I should say. And with that one chicken dinner they had, they only moved up to like 9th, 10th place.
Yeah.
But as we saw here, they were already up to 6, and with that victory, they should be shooting up the leaderboards, which is honestly what we want to see, 7. We always talk up Na'Vi so much, and they always let us down going into events, but this was a big, big win.
It is a big win. And I kind of have to be a bearer of bad news because we just haven't been able to see them following up a win. Maybe today that'll be the big difference, maybe with the way they're kind of currently playing. You were mentioning it too, the way they were able to rotate throughout the map, the way they were able to kind of scout with Kitsune was tremendous.
Yeah, I think that the point I brought up a lot about Na'Vi yesterday is they had their blinders on. They would just focus on one fight and not open their mind to other opportunities or other fights that could be happening on the side. Here, after that push away from Pachinki Hill, after having Kitsune scouting close to 4Rivals' position, they took an amazing push onto Infinity, then went for the engage onto 4Rivals, and didn't even look to clear out that fight because they had their mind opened up for other opportunities and just held onto that position, denied all the teams trying to enter from the north or the eastern side, and took full control of the high ground, which at the end even gave them the advantage to take that fight versus Nova at the end. This is what we needed from Na'Vi.
You got to say this. Shout out to our boys. S2G, 11 limbs, 10 ranking points there, 21. I mean, 7, you have to be happy to see S2G. I mean, that is the team you've talked about so much. And they finally show up here in day 2.
Considering yesterday they got 29 points and they're able to get 21 points here on this first game, this makes me happy. So yes, Jason, shout out to my boys from S2G because this is the kind of stuff that I've been expecting out of them. This is a team that was very dominant during the West to the point that they had 2 full super weekends to kind of just chill, lay back, relax, try different strats. Right now during the finals, they weren't really showing me what I wanted to see. S2G finally showing up.
Yeah, they did indeed. And also Matic here, 1,024 damage. Okay,
There it is.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know how I feel.
I don't know. I think somewhere out there, Kalaris is happy. But the fact is, Navi had only 3 players up against Nova, who had 4 in the very end of that fight, and they still come out on top. And speaking about coming out on top, they're in 3rd place.
What?
This team was bottom of the table towards yesterday. With 2 victories now, they've been able to shoot themselves up into a lot more money.
Yeah, 15 positions extra, 1 out of 3 games to go himself a chicken dinner in 8th place, and then another chicken dinner to kick off the day. What a good showcase from them. And you're looking at that one, sure, Nova able to push himself up in that 1st place thanks to that 2nd position in this game, but you still have 2 teams from the West here next to Navi in 2nd and 3rd. Like, West, a lot of people were saying, oh no, East is going to dominate and everything. Like, man, no, it's a lot closer than what people expected.
Yeah, there's some teams from West that are definitely stepping it up. Now, I want to go a little bit off topic here with Enigma Race Gaming, right? With this team, they just really haven't been able to perform. I would love to see them starting to spark it up again, because if this is the case, you're going to see a lot of the other teams starting to pass them up. You saw DX. I mean, DX being able to maintain their playing style. They were able to perform as well in Miramar. We do have a Miramar coming up next. And then as we go down the list, another team that's kind of scaring me a little bit with the way they've been performing in the past couple matches is going to be STE, Max. In this past game, they were able to get 0 points. They got eliminated in 13th place. Hopefully this Miramar coming up, they'll be able to flip it around.
Yeah. Is that your vengeance for us talking about S2G in such a way? Is that, okay, trying to get back at me,
You guys were hyping them up so much for me that I was starting to get behind the hype. I almost started picking them, but...
I agree, we need to see more from them.
You know what, Max? We got to talk about 4 rivals. Because we were watching the match together. No, don't be sad. You should be happy, right? Because we've seen improvements from yesterday to today, the way they were grouping and sending.
I saw improvements, yes, but I still need to see one improvement on one aspect of the game that I've not seen yet from 4 Rivals, is that they had such a good position. The entirety of that late game, they were dead center on the high ground position. All the teams were fighting each other on the outskirts, so they were just vibing in the middle of the circle. And yet, they came out with, what was it, 2 eliminations, I believe? Yeah. They needed to be the team to be proactive, push teams away. That push from Na'Vi should not have happened in 1,000 years.
Well, we saw that with Stalwart Esports yesterday in match 1. Remember, I mentioned, all right, well, I mean, we went towards Military Island off the bat. They had zone right off the bat, but what did they do? They pick up 14 elims. They look for those because they realize we need every single point and capitalize off the position that we were given. And speaking of capitalizing off the positions, Frozen versus Alpha 7.
Oh, that was good.
I mean, Yekta was there too, but he was mostly down the entire time. He was there in spirit. But Frozen was able to pull off like a phenomenal 1v3.
Well, to be fair to Yekta, I mean, he was the last player standing for that team. Alpha 7, for some reason, they decided to start focusing on some of the other teams rotating. I think it was Furious Gaming. I think I saw Korea or Cinetex. I can't remember off the top of my head which player it was. He decided to start shooting at that player instead of focusing on what they had. They had a 3-2-1 advantage that they didn't take any advantage of. They let them recoup, and they let one of our current leading MVPs recoup, which is Frozen. And Frozen was able to take it single-handedly. Another thing from Alpha 7 that I feel like they need to definitely work on that I'm not seeing here is if they are going to be aggressive, they need to be able to finish up those battles quickly.
That's super important, actually, because I think one point that we need to mention in this game is that they were trying to do too much at the same time. They tried to leapfrog the position of next round to try and gatekeep them onto the next circle shift while taking another fight. You're just putting yourself in too much of a bad situation, and of course, if you have Frozen against you, like, you're just giving him a free, like, 3-piece right there.
Yeah, I mean, but the fact is, again, like, Frozen, this is his first like global competition to be able to play in that kind of pressure against Alpha 7, who's a very strong team. Never get me wrong when talking about them, but to be able to capitalize off that, I mean, we saw his nerves in the final interview of the day, right? He was still like jacked up, like excited, but be able to keep calm under pressure and in a 1v3 situation like that. I mean, it was important the way he played things out. He had a knock onto Creo. He had a knock onto another player for Alpha 7 towards the back. I want to say it was Revo, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. And he puts like a Molotov down to like separate, to buy himself some time. He played that perfectly. A shame they didn't obviously get further into the match, but they're still fighting against Nova here for that first place.
Yeah, the composure he's able to maintain in this kind of situations. I mean, we have actually seen players being able to bring a lot of hype around them, and then they get to this stage and it just, in a way, dies off. Yeah. So far, it hasn't happened with Frozen. The one thing, though, we're still talking about, when we talk about Nextria, we're still talking a lot about Frozen. What's going to happen if for some reason he has 2 matches where he doesn't perform? How is the team going to be able to react to that? That's the question that I feel like we need to get answers on.
It could be a $900,000 plus difference, right? The difference between first and second place here. If he doesn't perform, or he gets knocked early, like you're saying, who's going to step up else on that team? And speaking of stepping up, you know, Na'Vi, let's dive back into them, because this team, we talk about teams in general where you have like those standout players, which is the way PUBG Mobile kind of was back in 2019 and has transitioned away from. Na'Vi have every single player on the team who can step up. We normally talk about Tixi, because we saw there Matic coming out as the MVP.
Yeah, I think Tixi also was the MVP of, what was it, PMPL European Championship? I think there's one that I believe, I actually called him as potentially being the MVP, so we'll see. But indeed, that's a real aspect that Na'Vi has been able to play around, is that every single player on their team can frag out, and Kitsune has been able to set up the team really well in getting in those positions, so it's just well rounded up. But once again, we talked about it, they need to build up their momentum, which they've been able to do since that win yesterday.
Well, on that note in particular, as we take a look actually at Na'Vi in our recap here, Seven, you talked about this yesterday before we even went on to the show. I think it was even the day before, mentioning that Na'Vi last year were lacking that in-game leader. Kitsune coming in, also previously known as Adder. We're seeing here the decisions he's making are good, and they're finally starting to capitalize off it. It seems like he's getting more comfortable here in PMGC.
Yeah, I remember one of the conversations that I had with Na'Vi when we were in Dubai was that they seemed like they had the fragging power. They just seemed that they didn't have an actual leader, or where to send them, or where to be able to guide them, right? Right now, they have that in Kitsune. Right now, we're starting to see that. I love how they were able to neutralize Paraboy as well there towards the end. We were looking at Paraboy, we're like, whoa, he's going to be able to get a great off angle here. They realized it right away. They make sure they cause some damage to him, and then it kind of make Paraboy back off a little bit more, Max.
Yeah, I think they were maybe shooting a little bit in the dark, but now they definitely have a plan in mind when they come to some of these games. Here, they went for Pachinki Hill position, which was also taken by Nova early, so it's really good when it comes to getting that information into the mid-game to transition into late game. And here they move out, and you can see a small bit on the side here. Kitsune moves out, crosses the road, gets the information, clears the spot, and then the team follows up on that rotation. Before doing so, they try to make sure they clear out Furious Gaming inside the rest of Pachinki itself. So they were continuously fragging out, trying to get those eliminations left, right, and center, getting involved in the kill feed to try and hopefully make things a little bit easier as they approach that late game. But here, Meku able to get himself some decent sprays, a few knocks here and there to make it a little bit easier.
Ito na po, mga kaibigan.
And they finished off with 15. So from that moment, they just completely switched on, picked up 13
Lang
eliminations,
ilaw.
and closing out the match. Like, they realized we have a good position, they have the high ground, they have the height advantage.
Ito na
That's
po,
what it is now.
madami.
And they made it work, right? And we talked about 4 rivals. They had the position, but they didn't look for those elims. They didn't capitalize off of it.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to see that push. Oh, no, wait, that was actually after the push that happened. But yeah, they just took that position so easily, it seemed. And the moment they had control, they were just gatekeeping everyone away. Like, we got the high ground position. If you want it, you're going to have to take it away from us, because otherwise, we're going to take the win thanks to that height advantage.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they weren't passive. And this is kind of something of the likes of what Jason was saying. I'm so glad they weren't passive. They decided to be aggressive. They decided to use the position that they were on for their advantage. Being able to get those elims are huge. Now, my main question, I mentioned it earlier, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. Can this team follow up this win with a great performance? We talked about it yesterday. We said, okay, they got this win. How about maybe not go for the win the next match? Top five, maybe 5 elims. We'll count that as a win towards you, because now you're being able to carry a little bit of momentum. They weren't able to do that yesterday. They got a little bit close to it. I think they ended up with an 8th place finish with 4 elims, which is not bad, right? It's not bad in comparison to what we're used to seeing from them. But I think in the next one, I mean, if this is going to be a championship team, I definitely want more.
I think what's really cool, by the way, about Na'Vi is the fact you do have Kitsune, who's kind of like been the second note to a lot of great in-game leaders. I mean, we had Old Boy used to play with before with, you know, Team Unique, and obviously in Na'Vi at part of this year and last year. Then he was under Beowulf with Cloud9, and who obviously became Ghost Gaming later on. Like, he's been that second fiddle to learn a lot from so many different people, from so many great in-game leaders, that I feel like it gives him such an advantage when we go into events like this. The problem is, I feel like he still hasn't fully maybe come into his own just yet, because we still see Na'Vi with inconsistencies and sometimes with letdown performances.
Yeah, and I think those are stuff that he's going to be working on. And I'm so glad you mentioned his time there with Cloud9, because he was one of their main fraggers. So for Na'Vi now to have an IGL that's not only going to be able to just guide you to the right place, but also going to put you in a position where he's more than likely going to be able to frag out as well, I think that's huge.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have to head to a short break here while we get things ready to go for our second match of the day. It'll be over on Miramar, and it'll be here in just a few moments.
saw the first light, the first steps. Now I see much more. I capture Earth in all its beauty. I see action. I see drama. And I see it in the finest detail. Moments of inspiration. And the first steps. I am the 1+9.
Welcome back, everyone, to PMGC 2021. We are into our second day of play, and we're into our second match as well here on our second day. A lot of 2s coming through, a lot of 7s here on the desk as well. And we have Navi taking home the title here in our very first match. However, going into match 2, a lot of teams have been able to make quite a big step up. And more importantly, Max, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about it. Quite a lot of improvements out of teams from day 1 to day 2, and that's what we wanted to see. Can you take that time between the 2 days to really do your homework and figure out what's going wrong for you?
Yeah, and one team, even though it was not a really high placement game for them, is actually Infinity, right? We were talking about it during that game happening, and they had a huge opportunity to take a great fight versus 628, and the execution on their end actually was really good, right? Because they had Mela waiting in the field. I was asking, was it by mistake or was it intentional? And I'm like 90% sure that was intentional, because 628 were not ready for the out-off angle being available. They went for the backstab. 628 had no way to fight back, and the nades from Gotani were top tier. I want to see more of that Infinity in particular, because yesterday was a little bit of a slow burner. They need to step up big time today.
Okay, well, I have the flip for you. You're talking about improvements, right? I'm going to be talking about a team that actually has not improved, and I'm going to have to be a little bit more rough on them, and it's going to be Godlike. I feel like they were just blind, sending it to... They're playing like a team that used to play back in 2019, and that's just not going to work right now. I totally agree with what Blank was saying there. I feel like they definitely need to start scouting a little bit more. Something that you were mentioning yesterday as well, Max, is I would like to see them start working on a 2-2 combination. I'm not sure what combination they're going to end up using, but just do something different, because everything that they're doing right now is not working. An improvement that I do have to call out from Godlike is that now they're not waiting until the third phase to actually enter the circle. So that is an improvement. Yesterday, I feel like they were putting themselves up against the wall and not allowing them to work freely. Right now, they're improving a little bit, but they're just blindsiding it way too much for my liking.
And I wonder why they're doing that as well. The fact is, they have every opportunity to watch what's happening around the world within PUBG Mobile.
Yep.
Obviously, playing in BGIS, the meta might be a little bit different, but they should know and know what to expect coming into this event.
And I mean, with the championship team, this is something we always talk about. You have to be able to just adapt to what's being thrown at you. Yes, that might have worked, as you said, in India. Right now, this is the global stage, baby. You're going up against teams from China. Now you're going up against teams from the West next year. I mean, look at the performance they're currently having.
Yeah.
We are just not seeing the improvement that we need to see. And I don't want to get to day 3, and that's when they start improving. We have seen that over and over again with different teams. And at this point, like, you cannot allow that to happen.
It's just going to be too late. But if there's one positive aspect I can give to Godlike right now, is that we know exactly what they need to improve on. I just hope that they can understand that themselves, have a little bit more perspective on their own position, and work on that instantly. If they can get that worked upon today, that'll be huge. But when you have one thing that's so important as scouting, getting information, and hopefully working on the 2-2 splits, if they improve on that, they could get huge games, because they fight pretty well.
The thing is that they have the gun skill. They showed it yesterday. We saw what Jonathan was able to do with Alpha 7. It's just the whole strat, it's not working for them. They need to switch it up.
You need to switch it up, maybe pick up a 1+. Actually, your sponsor here at PMGC, the 1+9 Pro, with its ultra smooth gaming at 90 FPS. You never have to #settle when you're playing on one of these lucky babies. And maybe that's what they need to do. I don't know. The thing is, we're very harsh on them. But to be fair, we're also going to be harsh on a lot of other teams out there. I think for the fact of us, it's the first time seeing India on a national scale in such a long time. And really quickly, a real quick shout out to Singtel as being Singapore's most powerful 5G network here, sponsoring PMGC as well. But gentlemen, we're about to get into our next match of the day here, and I'm getting a little bit scared for some of these teams. They need to start to improve some things. And speaking about improvements, we're going to improve the looks here on the desk by bringing in John Allen and Blank.
And there we go. It is going to be going to the map that is anything but green. Can't be standing that. We're going to be going to Miramar. It is the desert. Blank, you feeling good about this one?
I am, yeah. Jason paid us a very nice compliment, so I'll take that, honestly. I do think that looking at this map, though, we're going to see some interesting changes. I want to see if certain teams can continue to improve. So, on the other hand, with such a good game on Miramar yesterday, and I will call it a really good game, I'm going to keep repeating that with only having 2 and getting 5th place. I want to see how well they can do with all 4 players. If they had 5, that'd be a well unfair advantage. On the other hand, Nick Galaxy, I gave them maybe a little bit too much jip yesterday. Yes, didn't really perform those last 3 games, but I do think that they do have a lot of potential of this team. Is it like where we have, you know, Stalwart as kinetic energy, I would put Nick Galaxy in that category of potential, because the way they get into these circles themselves are just astonishingly good so far. A7, on the other hand, their circle entrances have been shoddy. That last game versus Nextria, basically just allowing the final player from Nextria to go hidden, which has happened twice now versus Damwon, now against A7 with Frozen. I feel like that is unacceptable. I think that is something that people shouldn't be allowing to happen that often. I understand that A7 were coming down from Severny side, perhaps a little bit more difficult to make it happen. Maybe have that eye on the ball in those final moments.
What sort of potential energy are you talking about, though, Blank? Because there's several types. If you had to give it a name,
give me some.
I'll give you some examples. You got gravitational, elastic, or chemical.
Probably say chemical, because they corrode the rest of the lobby as they go through. It's not a case of ever going fully intensive on these fights. It's a case of, you know, wearing people down, making sure by the time they get to that end game, they're in the best position possible. Unfortunately, you know, if the chemical can't get a boiling, this is what tends to happen.
Yeah, you do need to be able to release that energy, otherwise it's pretty much useless. A release of energy, though, for Alpha 7 there. Ralph, not going to be able to heal out too long. Cenotexa, he's surfing the bonnet. How long is he going to stay alive for? We'll have to wait and see.
Were they listening to what we were saying?
There we go.
Like, you think our rotations are shoddy? That's it. I'm going to destroy the team that you complimented. Well, fair play, A7. Honestly, a good start. And by no means do I think A7's a bad team. Again, I'll reiterate what I said yesterday. I do think that they are the best team in the West. But we just haven't seen those similarities to what we saw in the West League here in the PMGC finals. There were some really, really good moments. Almost as beautiful as the PMGC Scar L skin that is now available. But it's just a case that I want to see more from this team.
You can see more if you watch and earn rewards live with the Grand Finals Treasure Box, available until January 30th, of course. And we'll be getting into more about that, I'm sure, as time goes on. But you can be getting those treasure boxes by hitting the PMGC logo in the game lobby.
Absolutely. It's a secret hidden technique of hitting the PMGC logo in game and lobby. Honestly, don't actually hit your phone. You can just tap it. That
Especially
is
if it's a
fine.
OnePlus. I mean, don't hit it. Those are good phones. You don't want to be hitting those.
They'll probably survive the hit because they are such robust pieces of technology. But at the same time, just be nice. Be nice. Just tap it. Just tap it. You can also summon your fantasy team. I don't know exactly if they will appear in your apartment or wherever you do live, but you can proverbially summon them onto your table in the form of cards. Honestly, I want to see some PMGC card battles in the future. Perhaps Maxman can hook me up with one of his tremendous, or maybe one of the decks from his tremendous collection that I know he owns.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Max owns every single card. In multiple copies. I think he has the secret rares actually as well. The other ones.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But he never plays with them. That's the thing. He only keeps them in a dark cupboard in a in a vacuum sealed chamber, so nobody can ever look at them. You just got to know that he has them.
Yeah, when he goes in, it's with an ultraviolet light, and you can barely see them, but he knows they're there. He knows they're there. Yeah. S2G, on the other hand, they know that Godlike's off on the distance, just a little bit off the ways, so they're going to be a little bit careful. Kelsey does reveal the position, possibly accidentally. That's a case of hitting the phone, not tapping, unfortunately. But Clutch God is spotted, takes a tag, and will quickly dive into cover. Taking a look at the standings at the moment, John, though, Nova have now passed Nextria, which the desk detailed upon. 81 points to 86 currently. This is that beautiful shot from Kelsey earlier on, as well as S2G, who are really, you know, heating up that last game. I felt like some of the performances were truly magnificent. I think that there was one particular, this is the one right here. Thank you so much, observers. An incredible blast down onto that vehicle. Never seen anything quite like it.
It was brutal, not fun for anyone involved. But next, Maria still standing up towards the top. They went down a little bit further earlier than they would have liked in that last game, but not before having their own say. I mean, we saw what Frozen was able to do, even in just that duo against Alpha 7. Very, very good stuff. And, ooh, 628 finds a Crouching Tiger Flying Dragon over Rebellion's head.
I know, I think Yu Yang was in the process of reloading and didn't expect the player from Fenerbahce just to drop out the vehicle like, right then, lads, let's have it out. Come on then, I'll give it you. And I think in that moment, 6-2, just a little bit caught off guard there. Honestly, Fenerbahce down towards 15th place. Not a good position to be in for them. I know how good Fenerbahce can be as well, so it is slightly frustrating for me personally to see them down there, but they are just making some, quite honestly, rookie mistakes. And I think a lot of the deaths they've had were in rotation, losing players early. And it's not something I want to see. But then again, this is the PMGC finals. Pressure can get to you. And you don't want to crumble underneath that. But unfortunately, John, that does happen. And it's a real possibility.
It's unfortunate, but it is the reality, as you say. At the moment, the circle shifting up north means that a lot of those teams down the south are going to have to get in fairly fast. And around San Martin and Hacienda is where that congregation will start to assemble. As Fenerbahce lose more to 6-8. A nice drop shot there from Sunan. Fenerbahce just disparate, far-flung, and not really in a position to deal with this at all.
I do think this is what 6-8 does extremely well, which is hunting. You know, they have the little hunting outfit on right now. They've got all the leaves attached to their body. Honestly, they probably want sand, you know, glued upon themselves here on Miramar. But they are hunters at the end of the day. And once they find their mark, you know, it is time to go for them. And I think they're very good at clearing up those few players remaining to pick up as many points as possible for themselves. Still set in 12th place, 40 points total. Not the best of days for them, and I do think this is something that has troubled 6-8 for a very, very long time, which is having that great early game and then not being able to really translate it into the late. Despite them being quite a good team overall, I would rank a lot of their players quite highly, but as a team unit, I just don't think they have that same synergy that you might see from Nova or particularly from that last game, Na'Vi.
Na'Vi have just been, as the desk were talking about earlier as well, just been climbing up over these last couple of games. And I feel like if there is a sprint team, it is Na'Vi. I feel like this is a team that absolutely has momentum in their blood. It's their middle name, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure momentum is their middle name.
Well, I would completely agree. I mean, 3rd place already in the tournament. Really, really well done, actually, to climb from there. I believe it was 11th place yesterday that they were sat in. Moving that up into 3rd place, only 10 points behind the actual leaders of the lobby. It's an incredible feat. And this is what I was saying yesterday, is that today is now where you lay that ground for yourself going forward. You know, if you don't have that stable concrete floor to build the skyscraper from, like, it's very impossible on that last day to strike out and maybe get ahead of those other teams. So I think for Na'Vi at the moment, you know, consistency really has to be in their ballpark at the moment. And I think that that's the kind of the issue for Na'Vi, right? Is they're the strikeout team, and I don't know how well they'll do with consistency, right? So this is now the real test. The next basically 4 games for me, 5 games, sorry, including this one. The next 5 games for me really is about Na'Vi being able to hold on to this position. And if they can do that, I have real hopes for them on that final day.
6-8, they are continuing to find these shots, and it's Furious Gaming now that they've turned their attention to on the south side, but they are in the blue. We'll have to move a little bit further forward. You can see 33Z fairly low. Should be popping out for a little bit of healing sometime soon, or getting as close to that circle as possible. Oh, beg your pardon, as possible. But 3 eliminations already, Blank, and we're only 10 minutes in. Good news for 6-8 as they bring in a 4th.
It's very good stuff, and they move up into 11th place with that final elimination as well. Really, really well done. Na'Vi still moving around. They're passing towards that eastern side, playing that edge once again, and they don't really play this cautious edge playstyle, and I really like that about the team. You can see them right now. They're just flying through, and this is what makes them very strong when they play this edge play, because they're not afraid to take control of the edge. And I think a lot of teams get that misguided mentality of that when you play that edge, you're kind of just on the outline, right? You're not really taking many fights, you're not trying to get too involved. But on the other hand, for Na'Vi, it's a case of we want to lay claim to the entirety of this eastern side.
It's a difference between attack mode edge and defense mode edge, right? If they're playing those player cards down. That's what Na'Vi's doing right now. They've summoned themselves in attack mode, but they are still playing on that edge. I mean, you're right. It's that misconception that you have to be passive on the edge. You don't. You can be proactive.
Moving up to A7's position very slowly as well, but I do think that A7 have a pretty clear idea of what's going on here. Nade in hand, and Forrest tries to send it away to the tree line, but most likely will be taken down. Luckily, teammate finds it.
Junie as well, up to bat, Sung down the hill, looks for the shots around, but can't quite find Center Texa. Luckily, still there's teammates waiting in the wings and over the top. Revo looks for an off angle, looks to sling around the side there. Down One Gaming in much more resible positions here, and Alpha 7 probably off in the worst position of this fight on the north. No one really going to be striking out this far. Just to the south side of Oasis, Mafioso needs to heal as well. The teammates for Alpha 7 not looking healthy.
A really, really difficult fight there for Down One Gaming, but surprisingly make it happen regardless, and I think that comes off the back of some very good gun skill. With A7 being so far in the back, and with how quickly Down One are able to clear that fight up as well, Junie just sending himself basically a NASCAR parade.
How's he got away with that?
He spun it, hasn't he?
He's just stunted on him. He was shouting parkour the whole time.
I know, right? Jumping on top of fridges, into boxes, breaking his kneecaps, but he's still walking. There you go. Will be another player been taken down, and A7 just were in no position there. Revo and Mafioso were not able to help, and I think that they should have realistically been looking that way. Fenerbahce lose yet again another player. Matic going down there will halt the progress just a little bit, but I imagine they'll get back on their bikes moving over towards that western shift that has moved over towards La Cobreria. Once again, though, Nick Galaxy fairly safe on this western side, can head into the city proper and just hold out for the time being.
I'm looking forward to the desk saying where the circle's finishing nearby. I feel like both Jason, I feel like Seven's going to nail it. I feel like that's going to be fine. But I'm not sure about Jason. I want to hear him say La Cobreria 5 times fast. You know, that's one of my things that I want to achieve today.
Just because you spent 3 months in Spain doesn't mean you start stunting on everyone with your Spanish pronunciation. Okay, Jesus, stop it now. Stalwart, on the other hand, pronunciation with a gun is clear and crisp, so we'll see how well they can make it on this southeast side. They do have Nova around their position, so a very, very tough team to deal with. Clutch God hits a beauty of a nade off the side, and in the Infinity are also striking out there, so next Ruya takes a massive amount of casualties.
And there they go. Godlike are going to be able to take down next Ruya. Out in 16th place. 4 eliminations for Godlike. They're racking up some totals. Blank. They are still together, though.
Yeah, and I think that, honestly, when I've watched BGMI in the past, Miramar tends to be a map that the Indian teams have a very good grasp over. I love their compound play over there. It's so interesting to watch, because when they can play as that... What?
Oh?
Did you see that? Did you see what he just did? And just sidestepped it 2 headshots.
Did you just see what he just did?
It's not okay.
Black, we need to put him in prison.
That's a criminal offense, what he's just done there.
That's a lawsuit.
That is ridiculous. Honestly, that was savage. Oh my lord. More like a law loincloth, the way this guy has just sent this man back to the absolute caveman era.
Dear me. I need a minute. Goodness me.
I know,
what time to be alive or not, as the case of anybody who steps up to him is going to be. Wow. Okay. Godlike at the top of the hill at the moment, fending off S2G. You said they gained some pace in that last game, Blank.
Yeah, they did, and this is actually another compound that they tend to play quite often. So we'll see how well they can do from here. Obviously, the circle is not favoring them right now, and they will have to move in. The Infinity gets a good position earlier on. Now, we haven't really talked a lot about the Infinity currently sat in 7th place, have we, John? Honestly, in East League, they were impressive. Honestly, one of the best teams on Sandhawk, till people started figuring out that they were realistically just letting everyone else do the work and then careening in from that north side. They cleared up, shored up those holes, and suddenly the Infinity just starts to look a lot worse. Team Secret trying to get some points back on the board here. iShot finds a hit over towards Frankie there. We'll try and clear it out. Good off angles played by Team Secret at the moment, though.
Yeah, Team Secret, they have got 3 players alive at the moment, and nades continue to go through. Rabiz on the off angle against this bastion of 2. Team Secret to see their 3rd player just down to the south across the road. He's not really in a position to back them up, but iShots does have oversight on this position. Can stop the flow. Rabiz may be locked in just that little bit. Fredo peeking out wide. And Dumb One could potentially prove spoiler. And there you go, the shots are starting to come on through. Kid has to hit the deck.
Yeah, Favian sees Kid at the moment, tries to take some more shots, won't find it, but they have a clear idea of where they're playing. Down one currently outside the circle, right on that northeastern edge, continuing to play this hilltop. Quite difficult to make their way down from this position. It is doable, and currently with 4 players alive, like this is a fairly easy path to take. Mafioso also going down to the Infinity now. Revo, last player alive, with no real hope in hell at getting Mafioso back up again. They are fairly split.
S2G on the crash towards Furious Gaming. They've only got 2 players to stand up against it, and the tide is just too strong. They're ripped away.
Timber also takes a shot from Down One Gaming. Again, they just have massive oversight over the majority of these fights at the moment. Timber will go down to Forest there, and now Down One Gaming feel a little bit more comfortable to start moving down this hillside soon.
Uh-oh. Godlike, they're still fighting. They find one. Scry off the back of Action's buggy. An Action on the broadside of this hill. Not really sure what you were trying to get done there. It's such a difficult rotate, sure, but keeping going on such an open broadside when you know the top of that hill's occupied, I've got to question it.
I mean, Stalwart just really falling off recently. I can't say I'm too impressed with the recent performances, at least today. You know, I'm more used to that tactical style of play that they're able to show us time and time and again. But right now, it just feels a little sloppy. Down One Gaming, though, now they're taking their chance. They know that these teams have many casualties on side and are here to pick up the pieces. Really, really well thought out push.
And they move down from that hillside. Sure, S2G were at their back on the south side, but now they're in this compound. There's no real oversight towards them. And they have an excellent foothold. Nades starting to push out. S2G, they can't really step up because Godlike have the angle.
Godlike have been playing the circle extremely well at the moment. Fredo finds Duck. Again, this is all off the back of Down One Gaming. They find one knock and a flush onto S2G. That clears them to move in from that south side. They're not going to take too many shots from them because they're going to be more worried about keeping themselves alive now. And with a couple of knocks over towards this fight as well, now they know they can clean up. With the circle heading down towards that southwest side, the question is, do you leave this fight alone? Do you try and find a better position in the circle? Because currently, the Infinity is in a very good spot on that high ground with a couple of compounds to play with, regardless of where the circle goes. But looks like Down One is accelerating the pace of this fight.
They absolutely want to take this one and get it done with. They don't want anyone at their back. Kid with the M249, plenty of bullets in the chamber, but Fredo's gone down. Finds one knock with the M249 and down the stairs. Will not be able to stand up, unfortunately. And that is going to be Team Secret. Losing 2 players. iShot still across the way. Still alive for Team Secret. Sun goes down and Junie goes out wide. Looking for the fight with Lamborghini, and he's caught with a nade in his hand. He's taken around, he's turned it around, and Lamborghini able to get to safety. Duck knocked on the upper floor there, but Down One Gaming, they're going to have to slow down a hell of a lot here to get Junie back up, if they even think it's worth it. But they know the damage they've done to Lamborghini.
Medkit in hand as well will bring him back up to full HP, allowing to fight just a little bit longer. But yeah, we are at zone 5 now. That res is impossible. Junie was extremely over-aggressive. And now it's iShots, the remaining player from Team Secret, taking actual fire over towards Down One's position. Could spell absolute defeat for them here.
iShot fighting out, moving out from this compound. It just gets cut down, but in the meantime, Forrest is low. Sung on his knees right now on the open hillside, and Fabian racing for the cover of this building. They've managed to get in a pretty decent position as DXavier cannot make the same cross.
Luckily for Damwon, at least they're out of the blue into this safe area of the circle, so they will be able to get that final player back up and action, but that is not how they wanted to get into this circle. It should have really been 4 members.
Hi, what's up mga buddy? I'm back.
Too over aggressive there.
What's happening?
Once again,
Eto na. Pagpasensyahan nyo na. Meron na tayong ginawa. Eto, napakaganda na naman ng mga pwestuhan dito ng Navi. Team Navi na naman. Ang lamang dito mga buddy. Team Navi at Envy. Ang lamang dito mga chong.
But they have got all 4 alive.
Oh my goodness.
Moving forwards, Order sailing up now to
Oh my
regroup as a full 4.
Oh,
Moving
the
down,
shots.
should spot out the 4 rivals.
Oy, naku po,
Info
pinapasok
on their
na.
flank
Hindi
now,
pa.
but they're in a solid
Infin
end of
versus
the compound.
Envy.
Infinity
Anong
getting
nangyayari
challenged.
dito mga buddy?
Nades would be absolutely stellar here from the Infinity, but they've got a
Naku,
fair
ganda
few
ng mga
other
grenades
targets
ng
to
ano
be
dito,
worrying
ah.
about actually poking their heads out.
Boom!
Will drop the smokes. Really, really well done. They want to deny these sightlines
Naku,
whilst they
grabe
try and
yung
focus
labanan
on the
nila
threat
dito.
right in front of them. Nova, on the other hand, just
Bam!
preoccupied with getting players back up on their feet.
Naku
and
po,
getting
down!
themselves into a
Ang
solidified
4 rivals
position.
dito, isa.
Sunan will go down. Pamburu right in the midst of things, and Yu Yang
Naku.
moves up as well.
Ay,
8
grabe,
eliminations now. 4,
Down.
6 to 8. A very good game, and they're looking to translate.
Down ng 4
finally.
rivals dito mga
8
buddy.
eliminations for 628, 8 eliminations for Damwon Gaming, and
Grabe.
7 for Godlike.
SZSTE.
Flank, but they have taken
Nakakawalong
enough. They've
kills
already
na,
lost
mga
a player as
buddy.
well. Nova
Oh my
moving through this
God.
compound. Logan shuts the
Oh,
front down.
grabe, binapasok
King
nila.
takes
Oh,
a knee.
Envy
Paraboy
order.
low,
Ayan,
isn't
trap
gonna
na
have
po
to go
dito
down
ang
just
Envy.
yet.
Eto,
Nade
tingnan
might
natin
follow it
kung
up,
anong
and that
klase.
might be good, but in comes the push.
Diskarte ang
Paraboy.
gagawin nila
There goes
dito.
the knock from that Molotov, and around the side, Newsy looks for that flank. Jimmy trying to suppress it. The nades flying out as Nova cling to their end of the compound, but with only Jimmy standing, it's just time left on the clock, and that's going to run out for the Mela. Able to get in that buggy. All 4 alive for Infinity.
Goodness me, Newsy looking like King Henry VIII there, passing the law of death by boiling with that
Bro, kaya
Molotov.
ba? 9:30.
Goodness me. Now Newsy has to
Let's
deal
go.
with
Wala
Godlike
na
next
lang,
to a
wala
move
ko
on
rin
position, but it's
peg,
also
ha?
6 to 8. They're getting crunched from either
Muna.
side.
Mela, Newsy, Logan in this compound. Mela low on the front. Logan dealing with that push from the back as well. 2 players from Godlike are down, but Logan falls. And Zegon starts to back.
Nice
Newsy
kills
falls as
by
well.
SZSTE.
Gets a chance to
Down
stay
ang isa
alive
sa mga
for
infin
Godlike.
dito.
They still have 2 players
Naku po.
in this fight. With Jonathan down the hill, Mela's the last standing for the Infinity.
Zegod still here, will pick up a couple of these knocks as well, and the flushes. 6 to 8 though, you've got to commend them for this.
So
They had
far,
the
ang
entire
lamang
circle.
dito
They
ay
decided
Navi.
instead to move up
At
to this
syempre,
position, try and clear
SZSTE.
these teams out because they hear the cacophony of bullets and they want to bring an end
6
to this
teams
orchestra.
remaining.
Navi, 3 eliminations, highest on the
Pwede
table,
pa to,
still left in the
Godlike,
game
pwede pa.
right now, but they have got a player down. That forward position from Kitsune,
Naku
not
po, naku po.
very strong.
What?
As Damwon Gaming continue to rack up these eliminations as
Kawawa
well.
naman
Fabian
yun.
from up above does get rained down upon as well.
S2G,
Damwon finally
mag-isa na lang.
eliminated, but not before a flush goes through.
Huge limb count game here for the amount of players still in this one. S2G with 8, 6 to 8 with 11,
Patay na rin.
Godlike with 9, looking fantastic. In
Godlike,
this
9
match,
kills.
but Navi's
Guys,
still
4
in it.
teams
Yes, they
remaining.
only have
Eto na.
2 players.
Ang
There's only one other
pinaka-advantage
team with
dito,
4,
mga
so
buddy,
this could be
syempre,
pushing
SZ.
second place if they play
SZ
their
ang
cards right.
pinakamataas
But look who
na
it is. It's
advantage
Nick
dito,
McGalaxy
syempre.
once again in the top spots. You can call them anything, but you cannot call them not consistent. This is unbelievable stuff.
They are tenacious. They are holding on, and they are still going for these top
Uy, nice
spots. And
shots.
Blank, they are very much in the conversation. Navi as well, though, trying to deny it. And Godlike,
Man,
they've had a
magkakadikit
good
na lang
game
sila
so
dito.
far. They've had a great game, probably
Hi,
their
what's
best
up?
so far.
Pashout kay Von
But the
Ryzen
nades
ang
might
Giles.
just put a
Binabati
stop
kita.
to it,
U1
Suman.
DC. Princess
With
Nea
3
Sango.
of his
Binabati kita.
teammates.
Ako,
All 4 still alive, and
down.
Zegod goes down.
GG.
The knocks for Jonathan.
Godlike, GG na.
Not really coming
Naku
through
po.
thick and fast enough.
GG.
A little bit of damage,
Last
and the
3
rest of it as
teams
well. Sunan
remaining.
goes down, but Godlike eliminated on the back.
Still, fantastic game
Naku
for
po.
them. 9 elims total.
2 teams
Kitsune
remaining.
goes down next, and that will be
This is the-
also
this
Navi
is
out, bringing us
NGX
to 14 elims. I believe
versus
the highest we've had in the PMGC final so far.
SZSTE. Let's see
6 to
who's
8,
gonna
who have
win.
been on an absolute
Naapat pa sila
warpath
dito.
this game.
Naku
Freak
po,
takes a
ang
heavy
hirap
hit.
to.
Lord in the back. This guy knows how to clutch up, but how is it possible in this unlikely position?
They
Mahirap
started
to.
it early and they're finishing out. They've been going this whole time blank, 6-8, fighting for this
Mahirap to,
position,
buddy.
playing this game well.
Papalaban
They
sila
know what they're
dito.
doing. And they've cornered Nick the Galaxy, who
Naku
have
po.
done all right
Ah,
to be able to get this
GG.
far, and they will just cut them down.
Alright.
6-8, control the game, and Miramar is made theirs.
Absolutely. Now,
Good
6-8,
job by
you
STE.
cannot say that this team did
4
not do
versus 2
fantastically well that
situation,
match.
alam niyo naman
But
na
let's
yun.
quickly recall what
Alam natin
happened
na
right
yun.
at the beginning, John. Nick
Lamang
the
na lamang ang
Galaxy
dalawa.
take 2 knocks and
I
2
mean,
pushes
apat.
immediately from A7, and despite all that, this team
Good
are
game.
filled with
Adrian
survivors.
Jacob,
They are
binabati kita, Adrian.
unbelievable to make
Kamusta?
it towards the end there. We're just Lord and
Walang
Freak
tubig,
get a
ah.
second place on their cards. And again, it's that hidden ability to almost see through the fog, see through the mist, and be able to find exactly where they need to go on the map to find a winning position.
An excellent game from 6-8, but great games coming through from Godlike. Let's not forget they had a really solid position on that eastern side. Na'Vi as well, putting in those numbers, and it's going to be great to see what that's done to the tables. Over to you guys on the desk.
Yeah, with Na'Vi, we said before, we don't want to see a first place finish and then like a 16th place finish. Top 5 would be happy, and they accomplished that, exactly what we were hoping for. And 7 Na'Vi looking good, but let's talk about them a little bit later on. Let's talk about 6-8. This team has been extremely quiet throughout the first day. Pretty quiet in the first match of the day as well, but now they come out of nowhere, dropping 16 eliminations, our highest fragging game so far, and really put their foot down and say, all right, we got to start showing up.
And this is perfect because yesterday they actually, their most consistent map, I think it was Miramar.
Yeah.
So this is just playing along to what I wanted to see from them. Now, are they going to be able to back that up, right? It's going to become a question of what we saw from Na'Vi as well.
Ay,
Can
good
they
game.
also back
U1 DC,
up
binabati
that,
kita. Ito.
especially when you end up with
Siyempre,
16 Illims.
ang
That
ating
was
match ranking.
an impressive match for me.
Very
we
impressive
have to
game.
mention this. Come on, guys. Like,
Para
Godlike
sa
gets up in
SDST.
second place here with
16
9 eliminations. Finally, a
eliminations.
step up from the team. Well, it's not Godlike anymore. It's
Grabe.
Team India, as you call them
Don't
early
think
days.
parang
Right?
4,
They are
8,
coming
12, 16,
into this game.
tiga-apat na kill sila.
They got pushed upon very
Solid.
heavily, I believe, at one point in that game. It was by Nextroya, if I'm not mistaken, and they just took that fight so perfectly. Still, I think that they maybe need to focus on information gathering, but this is a very clear improvement that they can win these fights if they have the opportunity.
I will be talking about them a little bit more later. But another team that I'm seeing there that we've been calling out for the longest time, Jason, S2G, baby. And they're also now starting to get the Illims. And then we have Newsy here. I mean, we saw the Molotov that he
that
put on
molly.
Max. That molly was perfect.
I think that you just transformed Nova into Odin of One Piece for their second. They just got boiled to death, as Blank said, and it was a hard one. They just got pushed in. Okay, it's an anime reference.
Yeah, we don't watch.
It's fine. One Piece, best
One
anime in the
Piece.
world. That's all I have to say. But yeah, it was a really good execution for them because they knew anyways that Nova were just pushed in the corner. There was no escape. You molly the exit points, and Nova just can't really fight back. So we want to see more of Infinity. I still want to see a chicken dinner at one point in time, but there's some improvements on some aspects of the game.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Max. I don't watch anime. I was too busy watching Seven Worlds Gaming over on TikTok to do that. You see over our rankings, though, Nova starting to, well, I was going to say starting to lengthen a lead, but as we see here, actually not much of a lead, though, as Nick the Galaxy right behind them at 86. But for me, next Rhea falling down the table. They ended up the day in day 1 at first place. And now they're currently sitting in 4th, but 6-8. Look at this jump up out of them. 69 points, 5th place.
Wow.
Considering they were, I think, in 12th.
NV ang pinakamaraming kills natin dito.
That's a huge
Kita
step
niyo
up
naman.
from them. And what I love the most, actually, Seven, we were talking about that
RP
during
na?
that game.
Nakakamiss ka
The
mag-RP.
fact
Hello,
is that
Daddy
they
Boy.
had
Grabe
the
si ni Mami
circle south
Caroline.
of that
Grabe. Oo
road,
nga, sabi.
and they
Oo
could
nga,
have just
Alves eh.
held away in fear and just waiting on
Si
the edge of the
Maso,
circle
anong
to hope the
pahabol
game
sa
goes their
trend,
way.
no?
But they were willing to
Alves?
push out 3 players
Pahabol siya sa
outside of their
trend.
zone of comfort, go for those extra eliminations to allow them to get that 16 elimination game just to get the advantage and keeping Dalshi on the other side. Like, they were looking aggressive because they wanted that win from the
Oh
very
my
start.
goodness.
And this is what we want to see out of them in every single match. Like this was a completely different team. I expected this out of Stalwart. Yeah, it was 6-8 that actually showed up.
Is the other STE.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 STEs, and right now we need to see at least one of them start to put down some dominance. Again, $1.5 million for the winner of this entire event. But again, we've had so many different victories across today. We've only had will now Na'Vi be the only team to get 2 chicken dinners so far. We've seen, obviously, the teams only get 1. But now, as you said before, 6-8, we see them.
Photoshoot pala ni Baby Lakisha today.
Godlike for me,
So,
that's where I'm looking now, right?
Yes.
Can they continue
Makikita
that
niyo yung
momentum?
mga-
Do they finally feel some confidence that they're
Uy,
able to
grabe
get
naman
some
si Young
real
A, oh.
facts?
So the thing is that we were talking about confidence, and this team was very confident yesterday. They were willing to take into fights no
Bro,
matter who it
nag-message
was.
pala sa akin si
Something that I
Erwin.
think played out wonders for them
Kasi
in
na
this
daw
last
mo
match is they didn't really have to rotate in late. Whenever next three were mentioned,
They were
whenever next
centralized,
three pushed into them, they were being able to get set up. Another thing that I saw too, I think it was Clutch God, if I'm not mistaken, he was able to take out 2 players from STE, which I thought it was amazing
Shoutout
too.
po kay Von
Overall,
Marky
they're
Santiago, binabati
playing
kita.
style, they're
What's up?
starting to improve, and another thing that I really enjoyed was their 3-2-1 split. During a rotation, I think it was maybe phase 4 of the map, but I really enjoyed that rotation.
Yeah.
It actually backfired a little bit to them, but now they're starting to be a little bit more dynamic. Now they're starting to adjust, and this is the exact same thing that I wanted to see out of them. Just being able to adjust because they have the gun skill for it, as they were able to showcase. I mean, 9 illings is nothing to be ashamed of.
I actually want to go back to a point that you mentioned about Clutch God and that spray on Stalwart in particular. Not only is he getting some damage done and getting some extra 2 eliminations here, he's also looking towards the next circle shift, and he's trying to get information, which we said that's exactly what they need to try and improve on. So if they keep going on plays like that and actually trying to get the information, and they keep going on that curve, like they could improve exponentially throughout this tournament.
Well, there's a team we haven't mentioned just yet, which I feel like deserves some sort of credit here. Damwon, actually.
Yes.
We saw them put up some good numbers. I mean, Fabian doing some decent damage, it seems to be every match, and as well as eliminations. A team that obviously, if you guys remember, they won East League. They won the finals. And they haven't replicated that performance so far here in the grand finals, but we're starting to see them step up a little bit, and I think this is obviously for them the perfect time to do so.
Yeah, I think that their strength we've been able to see into the League East finals and also in this game in particular is their breaching potential. Like if they intend to breach, I think at one point they went on to Deeg Xavier and they just got out of there almost completely unscathed. It was really good execution. I think the breaches is definitely where they play the best, and if they can keep playing on those and going aggressive, getting those big elimination games, they could rank up really high once again.
Oo
So
nga
Damwon,
pala, ang
their
ating,
aggressive
ano,
nature is
ang
the best
ating
part of their game, but
BG
if they can
Village
try and
tournament.
improve maybe how
Ryzen
they break down,
Angeles,
which position
binabati
they're in
kita,
for,
Tapaya
I think that could
Paral,
be a
hi.
very play improvement pass for them.
The way they were able to
So,
recover
supposedly
against
dapat
the
today
5-1
ma-upload
seven
yun
shots,
yung
that was really
ating
impressive.
Game
They
3.
also didn't have the high
But
defense either.
marami kaming ginawa
And they were
today
able to
kaya
just-
hindi namin
they were able to
na-finalize
take
yung
advantage
ating
of it, and they were able to take the
ng
fight
ating
to Alpha 7.
BG
And
Village
then that kind of
tournament
leads me on
Game
to Alpha
3.
7.
So,
Where
kailangan pa
I
namin
kind of-
ayusin
I'm agreeing
tonight.
here with Blank.
Para
I thought this
at
was
least
one of the
mapanood
best
nyo na
teams
bukas.
out of the West.
Grabe yun,
Alpha 7 is nowhere to be seen right now.
Yeah, and
Guys, toilet break lang, ah. Be right back.
How are they going to perform without Carrillo, without Senatexa alive? And we saw, well, they didn't really perform. And not to call out Mafioso or Evo, obviously, but it's very difficult to play when you don't have your star players in that one. Obviously, with positions they were in as well. But we obviously still have, a lot more matches to come up today. There's still a lot more in general, and teams like Alpha 7 looking to continue some sort of momentum today. S2G have been playing fantastic, but we're going to head into a quick little recap here, and it looks like it will be 6-8. And I feel like, honestly, we haven't really talked about this team whatsoever until this moment, until this match. And that's really, I guess as we talk about Nova being quiet under the radar, so is 6-8 considering the placing they're now in.
Yeah, they're going to pull off the PEL or 2.0 where they're just going to get those last few games at the very end, get that 2 1v4 clutch, and we're going to see that coming up potentially from Yu Yang. But from the very start, they were trying to get those eliminations early on versus Furious Gaming, and it started off, but especially, and we're going to see as we go even further in this clip, in this replay, we're going to see how good that push was towards the end, where they sent Daoshi on the other side of the road, and those 3-player push here, 7, that's exactly what allowed them to get that 16 elimination game. Teams sometimes are just have the circle and they just stay there, like we see from 4 Rivals. Here they were proactive, willing to push, and I just love that from them.
Taking advantage of everything that they have, and I'm so happy this happened to the team, the chicken dinner, and not only that, being able to get those 16 ilms before we actually got to the halfway point of the tournament, right? You want that to happen because look what has happened so far with Navi. You mentioned it earlier, Jason. There are teams so far now that they have gotten 2 back-to-back, not back-to-back chicken dinners, but they've been able to at least get 2 chicken dinners, and that has propelled them. This was a team that at one point it was in 12th place. If you're going to be 6-8, this is great for them. I want to continue to see those improvements out of them. And with them as well, I mean, going into Sandhawk, how are they going to be able? Are they going to be able to see some of those splits that we saw there in Miramar? Because you mentioned it, those splits were beautiful.
Yeah, talking about the split, here you go. This is exactly the one we can see on our screen. Daoshi being actually the player down south of the circle, and the three other players going north of that road path and actually willing to take the fights. And also, what the thing is, not only Daoshi is serving as a extra opportunity for you to claim a win if the circle goes down south, he's also giving you that sneaky off angle from a distance, just forcing teams that are still in the game, such as Na'Vi, Enigma Galaxy, or Godlike, to avoid them from peeking over the road, and then you're just making sure you're clearing that space, and then the teams are going to have to push out of the blue, lose that high ground advantage that you have, Seven, and actually lose the fight eventually.
We always talk about splits. Look at this split right here. This is just perfectly to what we're talking about. 3-1, they were able to recover that player that was down. They were able to set themselves up for greatness there at the end, Max.
Yeah, exactly what you want to see. And the thing is, they've been very silent. Can they do it again, though? Can they build some momentum on a huge game like this? That's why I'm hoping to see off 6-8, because they've been just, unfortunately, not that great in that first day. We need to see a comeback in today and hopefully also tomorrow.
I think they'll be able to do it.
Well, the downside is for them is because it is Sanhok coming up next. It's so hard to be consistent and to have a repeat performance. Well, yeah, unless you're them or your Enigma Galaxy with Roof Healing or your Infinity just seem to always put up points there. But it's going to be really tough to do so, but I feel like it's a sigh of relief for them. You know, we talk about Godlike and the pressure they have coming from India, but we can never underestimate or understate, I should say, the pressure coming from China, right? Because this is the two teams who made it through. We saw back in 2019 in Malaysia, I think it was Top Esports, the only Chinese representative there. They're under a lot of pressure from other fans who are watching at home, and I feel like this finally takes some of that off their shoulders and maybe allow them to play a little bit more free and not so strict.
Yeah, and I think that's always a big thing, right? We talk about players having pressure on their shoulders. Is it going to force you to maybe push in a location where you shouldn't have pushed? It's going to force you to make an action where you maybe otherwise wouldn't do it. So I 100% agree with that. I think the pressure of their shoulders, and then from being from China, I mean, usually if you're a team from China, everybody, and I can say this especially from the West, everybody from the West expects you to be at least top 5.
Yeah, the thing that I want to talk about them from the teams from China in particular, Nova already have so much experience on this international global stage, right? Compared to 6-8 that do not have that. I think this is a team that this experience that they're having right now playing in this tournament is going to be so important for them in the long run. Give them another year with this experience in mind, like they might be the world champion next year.
And on that note, obviously, I mean, teams are playing from some hotels around the world and stuff like that. They're not playing in front of a live audience, which adds so much pressure. And we talked about this last year with PMGC, not having to deal with that, especially if you're one of those teams playing on a global scale for the first time. Imagine Frozen, 15 years old in front of, thousands of people watching in an arena. You can't expect big performances out of them. So for teams like maybe 6-8, we're obviously used to it over in China. Not too big of a deal. But we have an interview coming up here. We're going to tune in, and we'll come back to you in just a second.
I'm Karina, your host today, and yes, very glad to see you here. And now the round of competition is just ended. It was pretty exciting. So now I want to invite our players. Let's say hello to Paraboy. Hello, 你好，先和大家打个招呼好吗？ Please say hello.
我是 Pubg。
Hello everyone, I'm Paraboy。那其实刚刚的比赛真的非常精彩，所以能不能先和大家一起分享一下打进到我们 Grand Final 总决赛的心情怎么样呢？ How do you feel about breaking into the Grand Finals？
还是挺开心的，然后希望这次可以打得更好。
It's pretty happy and wish I can do the better. OK， 那你觉得目前我们的队伍状态怎么样？如果10分满分的话，你会给自己的队伍打几分呢？ And what do you think of the current stage of the team? And how would you rate your team out of 10 points?
满分。
Full, of course. 好的，那接下来时间能不能请你对支持你的各位粉丝们说几句话呢？ Could you say something to all the friends who have supported you?
现在赛程已经将近过半了，然后我们也会在接下来的几场比赛，然后打好每一场，然后感谢大家支持。
It is close to the end, so we will do the better to win the game. And thank you for everyone to supported me. Thank you. 好的，谢谢 Paraboy。好的，那接下来时间呢，我们。
It is unfair. It is unfair to be that good at PUBG Mobile and to be that good looking. That should just not be allowed. You know when you're like doing an RPG and you're creating a character and you have like 10 points allotted? He had 10 points maxed out in everything. That's just not fair. But obviously Paraboy, something that stood out for you, 7, rating his team out of 10, only a 4 right now. But they're in first place. What?
It's the standard they hold themselves to. I think that's a lot of stuff that people have misconceptions on. These teams like they hold themselves to a higher standard than anybody else, than any other region around the globe. And I actually enjoy what he said because, to be fair, they might be in first place, but we have yet to see that chicken dinner from Nova.
Yeah, I mean, they're suffering from success, right?
Well, just imagine winning PMGC 2021 without a chicken dinner because they're that good of a team. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to head to a short break here. When we do come back, we'll find out if maybe Nova can pull off the victory, but you have to wait just a little bit of time until then.
Every second that I breathe is going down in history. We are victorious, can't stop me. Maybe today we'll fight our battles, show you the way if you can handle it. You follow me.
PMGC 2021
Grand Finals.
Grand Finals
Grand Finals. To glory.
to glory.
To glory.
To glory.
Hopefully you guys are doing the lucky draw and pay attention to all the giveaways we have here at PMGC 2021. If you missed out on yesterday, well, you missed out on your chance to win one of 51 pluses. So if you weren't here, well, you know what? Sucks for you, but we also didn't win any, so it sucks for us too.
Yeah.
But we are back now with our third match of the day, and that means we're going over to Sandhawk here. Ooh. And again, we always see consistency out of two teams. However, yesterday we did see with BAKBAKAN, when they got their victory here, they didn't have to play in the blue. They didn't have to heal off. They had the zone. They took advantage of it. But I don't know if they're going to be as lucky this time.
Yeah, they wanted to play in the blue, but they just were not allowed to.
Stop it, Zone.
Yeah, but so of course, Enigma Galaxy is going to be one of the teams you're going to be looking at potentially a second place, or even a chicken dinner if they can make it happen like yesterday. But Infinity, this is a map that normally, and you said it at the start of the show yesterday, right, Jason, that this is a map normally where they would be really consistently make it in that top 3 finish. But yesterday, their game ended very, very prematurely. Here, another game of Sandhawk, and we have not yet seen a really good performance from this team. I want to see them step up this game, hopefully, on Sandhawk.
When you talk about stepping up, I'm going to go with Alpha 7. I mean, this team, they started off the day in 7th place. They're currently 11th place. What's going on, Alpha 7? This is not the Alpha 7 I'm used to seeing, and the reason why I'm actually going to be looking forward to seeing how they do it here in Sandhawk, because during the West, the most dominant teams in Sandhawk were the Brazilian teams, Alpha 7 being one of them. Something that we did notice yesterday, though, we never got that hot drop, and I don't think it's going to be happening here, especially with the way they're currently performing. But at least they were able to try different things. Another team I'm going to be looking at as well is Godlike. Yesterday, they had a compound. It didn't work out to their wonders. We saw what just happened in Miramar. They had a compound. They were able to defend it really well. We saw them trying different splits, too, when they're rotating about. I want to continue to see those improvements. I want to continue to see those adaptations from Godlike.
Well, can we maybe look at another team then? What about S2G? Seven, you were talking before about how good they were being so far in the day, and now S2G are looking to maintain that yet again.
You know what? Let me tell you, those last 2 games, 3rd place, 5th place finish, and then on top of that, they were able to back it up with 11 ilms and then 8 ilms as well. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is the S2G I've been hyping up for the longest time. I mean, at the start of the day, they started off in 14th place, and they currently have made a massive jump to 6th place. They're setting themselves up nicely for that 3rd day, and I couldn't be happier.
How much did they pay you? No, but if we're talking about a Turkish team, I'm going to go on to another one. It's Fenerbahce.
Yes.
It did not work great for them on Sandhawk yesterday, but there were good ideas, good initiatives they were trying to play that bridge position, but they got pushed by Frozen of Nextrea. Of course, that is not going to be easy, but if there's a map where I think that Fenerbahce could try and get somewhat back into the swing of things, I think it could be this game if they have some original approaches like they did yesterday on Sandhawk. So Fenerbahce, I would like to see at least maybe a 5 elimination game here coming their way.
I don't see it happening. I'm sorry to disagree with you, Max.
You've got to be hopeful.
This team has completely disappointed me. This is worse than... never mind, I'm not even going to put that reference out there. But Fenerbahce, I said it earlier, a team that was super consistent in the West, a team that was definitely up there. We were looking to be at least in the top 5. They're truly sitting in last place. That's not the Fenerbahce I'm used to seeing.
Okay, well then, who do you want to really give special attention to in this match, 7? Who's your team to watch?
It has to be Alpha 7 for the stuff that I just mentioned. They usually are very aggressive, kind of plays on their favor. The only thing that it might deflect them a little bit is if the circle goes north, they usually don't really do well towards the north. I would like to see them do well here in Sandhawk and snap out of the current state that they're in, because they're just going more down, and it's not going to work on their favor, especially tomorrow.
You know what's unfortunate for them? They dominated PMPL Brazil. Then they started to struggle against these Turkish teams, and now they're struggling really hard against the global scale of teams. I mean, they have players who played in previous global championships, and right now they can't replicate that dominance. Maxman, who are you looking towards?
I already explained somewhat, but Enigma Galaxy, I'm going to go with a safe one this time around. Even if they just make it top 3, if they just heal in the blue, that's fine. But if they can get another win, I will be impressed. So it's
all right, well, they're going out in 16th place. My choice, though, a team to watch, and this is the last time I'm going to give it to them.
Infinity?
Godlike. This is for me. No, for me, this is their last chance to be impressive, to show something. Because if they don't step up here, I don't think they have a chance to get into first place. I know you want to say something.
A winner or top 5? What are you looking for from them?
Top 5.
Okay.
Top 5. They got to get something going here, and we got to get something going because we got to get out of here. Let's bring in John on a blank once again to bring us Sandhawk.
God, he doesn't put much on Godlike, does he? Top 5 every game? Oh wow. I've extrapolated his words a little bit there, Blank, but I'm sure he'll tell me about that later. 39 points so far on the Godlike tally. They climbed up 2 places over Fenerbahce and Furious Gaming, but there's still a long way to go to get to the top of the mountain.
I do feel kind of bad for Godlike there. There's a lot of pressure on them after a game where they had 9 eliminations on Miramar and did fairly bloody well, actually, in my opinion.
They got 17 points.
This is like last chance saloon. It needs to get 29 points here, apparently. But nope, I think Godlike's last game was pretty good. You know, keep it up, though, honestly, at this point. 3rd game, halfway point right now in the tournament. I think Jason's right in a way that it is time to get the ball a little bit rolling, just a wee bit, but we'll see how it happens. Northwest Island, 6-2-8 Na'Vi, typical drop spot for those teams. Usually 6-2-8 are able to pick up the Northwest Mountain itself. We are going to have this heavy northern shift with a lot of water in it towards that northern side of the map.
The northern side of the map is where Infinity find themselves. They're on that split, and we talked about the Infinity on Sandhawk, right? That's how they like to play us. Stay out, just chill, just vibe.
All right, what's up, guys? I'm back.
That's going to be difficult to be able to achieve. It's more than likely they're going to have to.
Maganda pala ang mapa natin, ha? Dito tayo sa Sandhawk. Very close game.
Towards Tatmok.
Ito, katulad nito, NGX Freak versus, ayun na, boom! First Blood.
Where's his health
Patay agad dito.
Where's it gone?
Ang Team NGX, lagas agad sila ng isa.
No health to take the health
diba?
from someone else.
Mabilisan ng gameplay dito kasi sobrang sobrang dikit-dikit yung mga bahay dito, tsaka maliit lang yung mapa.
A little bit more dicey and few more teams actually head up this way. Furious Gaming up here, 4 rivals no longer.
Ano lang to, this is gonna be a fast game para sa game 3 natin.
They should be feeling pretty
Ay,
happy with
binabati ka lahat
themselves
naman
on the
naka-tune in.
northern side.
Kamusta?
Not too much to worry about. Again,
Gabriel
there is a team
Viola.
in Paradise Resort. It is
Grabe naman yun, idol.
STG.
Parang isang oras ako nawala. Hindi, nandito ako.
The Infinity might
Isang oras.
peruse a chance.
Hinihintay ko lang kasi
But I think
mag-game.
they'll keep it slow.
Yan, Suhang, Gabriel Viola.
No, if you want to
Sion
be a little bit
Omandom.
quicker, then
Hi.
be quick
Kamusta,
on
buddy?
over to watch
Iman
the in-game
PH.
feed as
Binabati
well
tayo,
to
man.
grab those boxes
Ito,
whilst you
ganda ng
can.
mga
The treasure
sipatan
boxes
dito ng Team
are there.
Secret, ha? May sinisipat dito ang Team Secret.
Game lobby. And we'll be
Sipat niya ako.
seeing you there and see if you can get some of those treasure boxes. Great stuff, great stuff. I know Seven, I know Max are absolutely dribbling for the chance to be allowed to go and grab those. So
Grabe,
they'll be happy about it. I hope
walang
you guys
tao
will
sa
too.
bootcamp, ha?
Maybe even grab some PMGC League player cards as well to summon your Fantasies team in the Esports Center in-game.
Walang tao sa
Rabid
bootcamp.
dogs just driven by the hunger for treasure. Honestly, we'll see how they do look after that next game. Perhaps need to change a couple of shirts or two with the amount of, drool that maybe has affected them in that way. We are going to get a little bit of a substitution. I feel like substitutions are all Team Secret on this sense. Kid in for, or Madtoy in for Kid. Honestly, Madtoy here, don't mind him on Sandhawk in particular. Again, I've said it before, is that this guy's quite calm, collected
Kian
fellow.
Gaming, what's up,
Tends to
Kian?
be able to work well under pressure. And I think
Rain De
Sandhawk
Guzman,
is
binabati kita.
important
Elton
to have
Gabriel, Landero,
that
hi, what's up?
mentality and have that rock
buddy?
in your midst that you can always rely on or fall back to.
6-8 in Hutton.
Ito,
Need
4
to
minutes
convert
in
on
the
their
game.
performance. I mean, Seven was saying this is the 6-8 that he wanted to see, right? This is the one he was bigging up, but that was one game, and they're still on 11th, so they still got a long way to go.
Yeah, last game was
11th,
incredible.
Oh, they have jumped up. Oh, up to 5th. Sorry, I hadn't refreshed my feed. That's the second time I've done
Previous
that.
match.
Hell.
They're all the way
Yeah.
up at 5th. Okay, I'll
Ooh.
take it back. 7.
Patayin
Good
niya
call.
pa yun, no?
Yeah, good call, Seven. Good call. Yeah, this last game was incredible. I mean, it definitely was our highest elim count out of the
Boom,
entirety of the tournament so far. And they
Good.
really put the pressure on a lot of teams. I think that putting the pressure on really was that storyline from that last game. The shots were so clean from them. They were never letting up. I don't think there was a point in that game where they weren't progressing towards some kind of goal, be it getting a limbs elsewhere,
Kita
trying
nyo,
to
men,
clear out
kita-kita na
compounds
po
at some
natin
point
kung
on the map. I
sino
think
yung
that
mga
one
players na
position
naglalaro
where
at
they
the
took over
moment. Ayun,
towards
so,
the Infinities after they finished their fight with Nova was just
Gian Padro,
incredible.
Parado,
Awareness
binabati
of what was
kita.
going
Gian
on around them.
Alonso, what's
So
up?
really happy with it. And again, you're checking out them here on Sandhawk. Last Sandhawk, they came and fell prey to Na'Vi early on. And, they took some shots between themselves, back and forth there, and took some knocks in that area. And honestly, this time they've just completely disengaged it. I respect that. I like that. On Sandhawk, you really want to divert your attention towards that 15-minute mark. If you can make it that far, you have a much higher chance of getting towards the top spots in the game.
And speaking of the top spots, look at the top of the tables there. 87, 86, 85, 81. There's this clear group of four right now that are really starting to strike out. You know, like it's like the four elements of the lobby, and they're doing pretty well.
I guess you could call them the forerunners.
Nakita ng for FBR.
At the forefront.
Yeah, true. Anyway, enough of this rebellious banter on broadcast. Let's get back to the game. Looking at Fenerbahce right now, again, a team that just hasn't really impressed us so far, but it will be at least one player from Nigma Galaxy going down. So they'll be down to 3. Not that it has ever mattered for Nigma Galaxy, because now their game plan changes, right? Last Sandhawk, they were able to win it out, grab that chicken dinner, as they had before, and they were in a great position throughout the entirety of the match. Yes, the circle was driven their way a fair few times, but now things change, and they go to plan B, which is get Ralph all the medicine that he needs, and then leave him out the blue, try and pick up as many points as possible. And usually that goes very well for them. 3rd or 2nd place, sending out that 2-man unit to try and start as many fights as possible, basically shaking the hornet's nest towards that end game, to ensure that Ralph actually gets towards those top spots.
Let's see who's gonna win this game. Game 3. Same password.
And curtail that chance for Nigma Galaxy. We know how they like to play it.
Same password.
I mean, I called those teams at the top of the tables the 4 elements. I feel like they're the water team, right? The 4 elements.
Stop it.
They're the team that sort of flows in. Like they're just trying to find all those cracks and sort of get their way in.
Oh my God,
over time towards the top of the tables. It's working.
Oh my goodness gracious. Ayun na, nakita na siya.
It got too fast.
Oh no. Navi a fire, I reckon.
Stop!
Oh, binabanatan sila doon,
Navi. I mean, they have set a fire to
God.
this little boat off in the distance, and 4 rivals left without a paddle and without a boat as well. So, you know, they're basically swimming. They are swimming.
It's true. They are absolutely swimming right now.
So I think that for 4 rivals, the rest of the game is going to be somewhat difficult, because it will mean getting back to an island itself to play, and that will waste a lot of time. As you see, Rith already enveloped by the blue. 8-minute mark already, John. We are a fair way into the game. Fair few teams still out in the blue. You've got Godlike, Fenerbahce, Nigma Galaxy, and 4 rivals. So we'll see how far they go. Nigma Galaxy most likely doing their patented find all the first aid kits that we can technique. A very, very cool technique to say the least. APU actually taking a lot of shots there from Kitsune, and without the ability to heal, might just go down to the blue itself.
Yeah, there's really not a lot you can do there. Has to come up to breathe as well, and just going to tick away, try and deny the point, but Kitsune gets it nonetheless. Nicely done. Matic on that hillside. They know the 4 rivals are out here, and they're just holding for these points, and rightly so. With the top of the table so close, with those 3 eliminations, we've got a new top spot.
Yeah, 4 limbs is unbelievably good at the beginning of a Sandhawk, because this is one of those maps where you can quite easily leave this game with only 0 points. So getting 4 points off the bat is extremely strong here on Sandhawk, and really does secure you a nice position. Looking at the map, on your right-hand side, you see Nigma Galaxy. They do what they do best right now, which is scavenge away, find as much as possible. We still have this fight between Godlike as well as Fenerbahce going on. Fenerbahce very much weakened in that early game. I doubt they have much to say versus Godlike, though. Might have to eat my tongue here if anything goes awry.
I need you to have that going forward.
Steep my words instead, quite tasty.
All right, we'll go for that one then instead. Fenerbahce fighting back against Godlike in a pretty sticky situation right now. But Godlike losing players. One knock certainly near as well. On the sidelines, taken down by Knox. Godlike losing players pretty fast now. Clutch God still standing. Fenerbahce, they're going to lose one, almost certainly. Jonathan looking to get the res onto Z-God.
Yeah, I mean, Andal Andal actually was able to get a lot of information for them, but having 2 players down is really not what you wanted to see for Godlike, considering the start they had to this fight, and Fenerbahce just really didn't have the manpower available to themselves at the beginning with only 3 players, but somehow managed to make it happen here. Jonathan having to heal up. No real opportunity to pick up any of the other players on the team. Zigo up on his feet now, though. DXavier, on the other hand, taking fights with S2G off in the distance. But it is Infinity up here as well, so they will have heard those shots.
Yeah, this is on the north side now that we're on board with the Infinity, with S2G.
Sobrang slow start pa tayo, pero meron na tayong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Tapmok. I mean,
8
Tapmok was that regroup point, and they are going to move a little bit further south. Infinity can't play on the outsides this time.
Like you say, though, I'm not going to call them foreign,
Huwag ka na po upload ng sa
there is
billiards.
that clear top of the tables at the moment now. You know, we've had a lot of these games at the moment where we have seen teams, you know, stay relatively within striking distance of one another. Yeah, he knows that he was going down. So that's 4 rivals out, our first team here on Sandhawk. Yeah, that 81 to 69 point difference, which just drops towards that 60 point mark across the board, is quite a big drop. Zigo will get taken down by Doka Machine, who just has an absolutely lovely high ground position versus Godlike. And, you know, I think this is last chance from Jason, already going down here, perhaps out just in 15th place.
They're not out just yet, and it is Sanhok. Stranger things have happened, and it's only Zone 2, so these reses very much possible. And with Clutch God and Jonathan, I feel like, you know, they can get a little bit further. The question is, how much further can they go? The player knocked pretty close to them. Fenerbahce only have 1, and it's just Oaken Machine, so they do actually have the numbers advantage. Nick McGalaxy, oh, they're out for a little bit of revenge. They lost a player early. Ralph, oh no, have they got too many meds? Are they not expecting there to be teams around this position? Ralph has to careen off to the side, and that puts a spanner in the works of the play from Nick McGalaxy.
Honestly, yeah, and to be fair, he does go down here, 25 bandages, 5 first aid kits, and I imagine you're absolutely right here, John. This fight has gone on for a very, very long time between Fenerbahce and Godlike, and Nick McGalaxy weren't expecting anyone to be out here on the side of the map, so bit difficult. Nick McGalaxy, Ralph does actually head back into that vehicle and send away. He's like, this is a danger zone, I don't want to be here. But Godlike, they do manage to start running away from this one. But if we take a look at the map, look how far out they are. There is absolutely no way that they're going to be making their way into this circle unscathed, or at least a little bit more scathed than they already are.
They're playing a different game. Look at that. They're in a different lobby. I'm pretty sure that something's going on there. Goodness me. 3 teams that far south, close together at this stage of the game. Relatively unheard. The shift goes to the main island full, so everybody on that western side going to have to move. That's Navi, that's 628 as well. Down 1 will have to push in from the south, and of course that Cabal down on that south bridge will have to move as well. Those are our big movers.
Mag-upload tayo nun ah. Meron tayo nilaro dyan, di ba?
This next phase.
Sorry.
Big move. Off in the distance. It was just to the southwest
of
Paradise
versus
628.
STE, let's see.
Sorry, trying to get their way in here.
Down.
Again, just really massive faller for this team. Literally on the edge of the cliff, and they have just tumbled down. It is not pleasing to look at, to be honest.
628. A little bit of the better of the STEs right now. Is Alpha 7 curtailing this advance, and you talked about it last time. They have fallen off just a little bit. This was a contender at the top of the tables in day 1.
Down ang dalawa.
Yeah, honestly, in somehow, some way, they're down in 8th place with 60 points. Yes, it's a bank that can be played with, but not quite as plentiful as currently Navi's working with.
15 ball.
No.
Buddy.
Actually, their points in here. I'm not even have to worry about it. DXavier over towards Paradise Resort. S2G left early after taking a few shots their way. Down to just 2 players now. And DXavier quickly swoop in and take up Paradise Resort. So this is good for them. They have a lot of sight lines that they can now start to work with here. Team Secret off to that eastern side. 628 grabbing those vehicles. They'll be moving in from that northwest, John.
They have managed to get across to the main island. Navi as well have been on the swim, and they have got up the mainland around that boot camp area. They are now on the western edge of that circle, just behind Stalwart and behind Alpha 7 for that center side. Fenerbahce do get eliminated. Godlike is still going, Blank, and they've got 4 eliminations.
Yeah, so Godlike pick up at least a few points here. Yes, it's not going to send them flying towards the top of the table, but it's at least something. You know, we still have 3 more games left today, 4 including this one. But, you know, it's still a place to start from. Like I said before, 4 eliminations, 4 points here on Sandhawk at the beginning, right? That's good. Good. Now we're at that 15-minute mark. You saw yourself pretty safe. Players, you're absolutely laughing.
Rock up on that compound for the outpost for Mela, for the Infinity. And underneath, Sunan's cutting out ankles. Mela low and in danger as well, but steps up to bat, does plenty of work there. Mela swaps the guns and finally goes down. But not before putting them on a little bit of a warning notice there. Nuzi has the time to reposition, but they've lost their teammate already.
It's not great news for them. 6-8. You know, still with 4 players, 1 on their knees, but really good angle there from Yu Yang to start picking up the fight from the backside. They could potentially try and pick that player up, but Sunan moves off in the distance. Wonderful shots from Nuzi. This is the boy that we know.
Finds 2 players down now in his sights. 4-6-2-8. And then aid from Sunan to try and piece together the knock over towards Godtani, towards Logan as well. Another nade might just be good. Here's those steps. Pops the nade over the top, gets the knock, and Logan's low. Gets the knock and needs to fall back to the team. Daoshi almost certainly bleeding out here. Not going to be able to get to that one, but Yu Yang a little bit more lucky. 4th zone though, and I don't even know if he can go for these reses. The spray from Nuzi on the reposition as well, but he sends it to the sky and has to fall back. Needs to get ahead of the game in terms of these rotations. 6-8 down.
Goodness me, Nuzi, the king of that fight, coming out on top with some clutch moves. Honest to God, that guy was on it everywhere. You felt like he was playing as the entire team, just switching between third-person perspectives. You love to see it. Down 1 gaming, though, on that south side. Down to 3 players once again. Checking out where they're currently sat in 10th place.
Sabi niya tagal ko nanonood sa'yo. Shoutout, please, yan. Binabati kita, Clean Chan.
You know, Sandhawk hasn't typically been their best map ever. But, you know, if they get some points here, it might see them in a good position to start hitting those top spots. Na'Vi now finally making their move over to Stalwart.
Action close by, and Matic will spot it out. Pika could go on the peak as well. Matic does go down, takes a knee there. As Action holds out the angle. Meku can't suppress it, but he can suppress that one. Excellent shots coming through. That's Tixie across the way. Now it's just Pika in the compound. Alone for Stalwart.
Last remaining member, see how much further he can go. Drops out the window. You can see Nuzi on the bottom screen trying to make his way into the circle with the rest of his team of the Infinity. Na'Vi starting to send shots over towards Furious Gaming side, but they're taking a hell of a shots their way too. So Na'Vi looking a little bit bruised, looking a little bit battered, but not quite out yet.
They're all still alive though as well. Action down in this compound. Pika left them well alone, and Matic very, very resable here. They should know that. They should be able to put out those feelers. Pika not able to control those lines with the zone at the back though. Now V have to get a shifty on.
Yeah, the Infinity as well, unfortunately, just out in the zone a little bit too long. In zone 5, it is an awful place to be. Enigma Galaxy, you just mentioned them there, John.
Kompleto pang Na'Vi dito,
on that south side after playing
Solid,
so long on the edge of the
sila.
blue. Goodness me, really, really well done to them. If 3 players still up, a potential to keep going in this game. You know, there are not a lot of teams here with huge amounts of players. You know, 3 players might just be enough. Nova, once again, still in the circle. You love to see it. You know, if they're very, very consistent so far in getting to these end moments.
They're the rock of the 4 elements. They're the earth. That's what I'm saying. Consistent. You love it. You love it. Na'Vi moving through. Kitsune gets shut down. Actually, it's Alpha 7 in Pika's position. If Kitsune doesn't peek around the side of it, it's going to be completely unknown. They're going to be more preoccupied with Alpha 7, and Pika could potentially look to strike here on the side swipe against Na'Vi if they aren't checking those angles. Here he comes. He goes for one, but is shut down by Meku. But in the meantime, the rest of Na'Vi are falling. Alpha 7 find them on the broadside on the hills, and it's just such a difficult push. Matic last standing, and all of a sudden it comes crashing down for Na'Vi. 8 eliminations already on the game, though. They've done a lot of work.
It's a good point scoring, and with the amount of teams that are taking casualties so far, you know, if Matic can stay alive for just a little bit longer, might be able to get up to a 7th, maybe even a 6th positioning, and that might just be good enough on the point scoring to see them at the top of the tables. But Nova has a position on that southeast side. This is their time to reclaim that first spot.
There's a lot of first aids on board as well for Matic. The rest of his team just fell right next to him. And you know that Alpha 7 are going to have to move from their position. They're going to have to relocate if they want to go further in this circle. They are going to go down, though. Okay, does get spotted out. Actually, the play zone took that one. And Na'Vi eliminated. Now Nova with a chance to take back that top spot, but so did Enigma Galaxy on the south side.
Modi out in the blue. Looks like he might just go down here. Next, Ruya, they're flying in. Remember, 4th place. We haven't been able to talk about them too much. I mean, Frozen's been clutching out, but we really haven't seen them as a full-man unit so far. But this time, they're in the game with full 4. So this could be a really good chance for them.
Next, Ruya. Find Ralph. And Damwon Gaming get eliminated. 7 teams remain now. Next Ruya on the south side, I feel like they have a decent shout at control here, but it's all about who gets this high ground, who controls this area.
Jenny's
Lord heating out
Gaming, what's up? Luna Almirante.
It's time to go for Enigma Galaxy. Max was right, you know, regardless of what happens, they're still going to get a pretty decent placing here. 3 eliminations as well, up to 7. Na'Vi goes down. Get a final elimination point 2.
Tingnan natin kung sino matitira. Napakalakas ng NR.
To see this team bring it back here. Only 15 alive. Creo, the clutch force himself runs away from that grenade as it hits the floor. Might be able to bring Senna Texa up, but Xavier, they're still pushing.
They're pushing around. They know that they want to flush these ones out, and in fact, that will happen. Excellent shots actually coming through from Frozen from next Ruya.
3 versus 3.
And that is going to be Alpha 7 going down yet again. Team Secret fall, and with 5 teams alive, now the points for the placement start to add up. Highest tally right now on eliminations is Xavier.
6 on the board, but Nova looking in a really good spot. They can play around this tree line. Looks like they've learned from that game they played against Na'Vi as well. They're getting this split on, trying to gather as much information as possible on your screen, potentially catch out some of these players. Next Ruya, next up to bat versus Xavier. See what they can get done. Nice nade goes over the top for Xavier.
Wow! Grabe yung granada na.
Finding one, Nova. Take a knock over towards Order. Nade's going back towards Xavier. Next Ruya trying to summit this hill, trying to push on up and get it done. And Frankie low on the outskirts will bleed out. Lamborghini, last chance saloon now for Xavier. Down in the grass and will get spotted. Yekta deals with it.
Honestly, next Ruya, one of my wildcard picks coming into this tournament. And they really impressed
situation,
on me. They have some very clutch players on the teams. But Frozen's interview really did leave a mark on my mind, because he says that this team works together to support one another to make these big plays. And that's what they absolutely do. They know that the spearhead is Frozen. But regardless of that, they make it work. Nova, though, is no easy task ahead of them.
Versus NRX. Naku po,
grabing granada. That's a great way to start, but that's given back twice as much as they got. An excellent nade from Kadur to see 2 down and leave Order all alone.
Oh my god!
Nades everywhere! One more as well, and Order steps up. Big for Nova. Just Kadur, the nade man himself, gets a taste of his own medicine, and it's Nova to snatch it back. Next Ruya take a tumble, and Nova put themselves on top. The defending champion stands up.
Order in the court lays down the gavel, and it is a hammer of brutal strength.
Grabe yun. Team Envy pa nanalo doon.
Crushes next Ruya underneath. The nades could not have been more perfect there. Laid at the very feet of next Ruya. And they had nothing but to pick them up, take the L, and go again. But Nova, 9 limbs with the chicken dinner. What a fantastic performance there, John.
I mean, that was, I think, 3 almost perfect grenades perfect grenades from both teams, right? There was that first nade to get the knock to equalize the numbers coming out from Nova, and then you had the turnaround to get that double knockback over towards Nova themselves from next three, and then the final. I mean, chef's kiss, chef's kiss. Speaking of chef's kiss, we've got some absolutely.
Lakas ng NT, kanina pa sila nanalo, no? Leopard! Yan, binabati kita.
We do blink. There are definitely some gentlemen up here. All three of us. I did leave it a little bit open in case any of you wanted to.
I thought you were going to single me out again.
No. I'm being nice to you today, Max. At least on camera. Off camera, who knows what's going to happen.
That is true.
But Nova, what a big win out of them. I mean, a fantastic job. Though I'm kind of sad they actually won. Not because I don't want them to win, but because I wanted to see them win PMGC with 0 chicken dinners, just to really rub salt in the wound for every other team out there, showing that they are the best team in the world 2 years running. But what a finish as well. You're talking about order in particular here, Max, at the very end of the game. I mean, Nova really put their foot down and almost came out of nowhere at the end.
Yeah, that's where Nova are so good at PUBG Mobile, is really they create an opportunity for themselves and they strike when they have that opening already created. Order gets an initial nade thrown onto Yekta, instantly turns into a knock, but because you don't have too much time before the circle starts closing up, you know that they're not going to be able to move away and they're going to try and force a res. Just throw it the same position, exact same angle, and that's going to be Nihat also getting knocked down, Yekta getting confirmed away, and then it's just a 3v2. You go for the push, you win that one, easy 7, able to get himself 9 eliminations this game once again.
And for me, I think I have to give some props there to Nextry. 7 elims for them and second place finish as well. This was a team that I felt like it was shutting down. They weren't really showing what they were able to show us yesterday. So it's a great step up from them. And I feel like we have to talk about Na'Vi. I mean, Na'Vi, you mentioned it. At one point there, we saw them pushing themselves up in the way to first place. And the consistency, we're finally starting to see it from Na'Vi. The past 3 games, or 4 games actually, before this Sandhawk, they were averaging about a 3rd place finish. And that's just impressive because they weren't just averaging that, they were also being able to gather a lot of elims.
I mean, with this, we were talking about it too, right, Seven? We want to see if Order can try and overtake Paraboy in that race for MVP, and I think this game might be the one where Paraboy is not in the MVP position anymore. We'll have to see at the end of the day, but these stats are disgusting.
What
8 eliminations out of 9?
Yes, I'm so glad you mentioned that. That's exactly what I was looking at. 8 elims out of 9. That is just insane.
Well, in terms of MVPs from the matches we've now had, out of 9, he had the most elims, the most team contribution, and most damage. That's why you see it go to the very ends of the radar. So he put a new standard on what it takes to be an MVP in a match.
Yep. I 100% agree with you. And I mean, I think I'm still stuck on those 8 elims out of 9. I was not expecting that, especially with the caliber of players that they definitely have on their side.
Oh man, look at this though. Nova do take a decent lead, 11 points here at the top of the table. But Na'Vi, as I mentioned before, 7 in hot pursuit at 95.
They definitely are, and I think the elims is another thing I wanted to mention. It's not just the consistency in regards to placement points. The elims they've been able to gather are just amazing. I think during their chicken dinners as well, they're being able to take full advantage of that. They've been able to get 10 elims. They've been able to get 14 elims. That's really impressive to me, Max.
So I'm seeing a big issue right now for Nigma Galaxy, Deke Xavier, Infinity, and 4th, 5th, and 6th, respectively. 27 elims, 27 elims, 26 elims. And when you look at their replacement points, they're really good, but it really goes to show here, and we mentioned this many times, you want to have that disparity between your elimination points and your rank points. If they can start fragging out a little bit more, they would be out of that position they currently stand in, 4th, 5th, and 6th. They could be aiming for that 2nd or even 1st place here. So those are 3 teams that I need to start seeing fragging out big time, because you could be going home with 1.5 million by just getting more eliminations, and they're desperately lacking on that side.
Seven, I have a question for you. Are you ready to unlock victory?
Yes, I am.
Well, you can do so with the OnePlus 9 Pro, and it's ultra smooth 90 FPS gaming. Big shout to them as they're sponsoring PMGC here for us, and probably Order is like, you know what, I'm going to pick up a OnePlus just for this match alone, and well, we saw exactly what it showed. 8 eliminations out of 9 total, able to be the MVP, so big shout to them here to sponsor PMGC. Another year running. They did it last year, they're doing it yet again. They must like something.
Yeah.
And speaking of liking things,
just make it happen, yeah.
Speaking of liking things, I love being pampered, and that's why a big shout out as well to Fairmont over in Singapore, as they are pampering all of our players, giving them mani, petties, giving them everything they possibly could need here. I am a little bit jealous. Actually, no, a little bit. I'm very jealous of the players who are playing from there, because we saw some pictures of the view as well. Can we go to Singapore?
We could be at the pool.
We could be doing this live from the pool. This could be the first ever broadcast, but I don't want to take my shirt off because it's COVID.
Yeah, you
not
don't want
to
to see
it,
this.
but because of what I have been doing.
I'm like, you don't want to see this.
We had our time in Malaysia to go to the pool tanning. But yeah, they're obviously sponsoring the event as well. And let's talk about a couple teams. Talk about Nova looking consistent. Talk about Na'Vi looking consistent. I know a super critical godlike, but they got a decent amount of eliminations.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm still not convinced by them, though, that they're going to be able to really propel themselves forward up in the leaderboards at the moment.
Yeah, we need to see a lot more, right?
I was going to say, yes, obviously we need to see a lot more from them, but they have been able to jump up the leaderboard.
Yeah.
They're currently now, they went from 16th place to 12th place, which is a huge improvement. Not only that, we have now seen their rotations change. Now they're trying out those 3-and-1 splits, which is huge. We have seen them just pushing blindly. So far, that hasn't worked out for them. I would love to see them rotating again. In the past couple matches, we have seen them being able to rotate early, take control of the compound, and being able to defend that compound.
Yeah.
I would like to see how they're going to be able to react if they do have to push into a compound. Are they going to readjust now? Are they actually going to be sending somebody to scout, or are they going to go back to what we saw in that first area?
Yeah, I'm talking about Godlike. I think there's another team that's maybe not been doing as bad at the start of the tournament, but it's been really silent. And with this game in particular, able to jump up quite a bit is Deek Xavier. And Deek Xavier actually had a great 2-2 hold on that, Paradise Resort position, which is a position that we remember back in the East League. There's a lot of history with that position, ready to take fights early on. They know exactly how to play that position.
There was like always a 3-way fight there, I believe.
Yeah, I think there was another team, and they just abandoned it at the end. But now they're back in that main position where if they can rotate there in the mid game. And the way they held that 2-2 split to then rotate into the circle was really well executed. Unfortunately, they did lose out on that 5 versus next Rhea, but if they win that, that could have been a chicken dinner coming their way, but it just didn't quite happen towards the end.
Okay, if we're talking about that, I actually would like to give some props to Alpha 7. They didn't get a chicken dinner, but I did enjoy the rotations that they were doing. We saw them being able to rotate on that trifecta that you love to call out, because they're not going for that boom cap anymore. They just gave that up, but they're being able to rotate faster. They're not just being stagnant. They're being able to rotate faster. They're being able to be a little bit more aggressive, which is what I expect out of Alpha 7.
If I'm not mistaken, they dropped in 2 different locations now, right? They dropped towards Trifecta yesterday, and this time they dropped like near Paradise, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it east of boot camp?
They still dropped Trifecta. They just decided to rotate a lot earlier, which is an improvement. And I was wondering how they were going to do with the Northern Circle, and they actually didn't do so bad.
Okay, well, we're talking about 7. Let's talk about the victors here in our quick little recap of Nova, as they just take themselves a victory at the very end. But we'll see the rotations, and now obviously things played out here in just a second.
I mean, I just want to see how Order was able to gather all those 8 Ilums, because that is just impressive to me. And here we go. This is what I want to see out of them. They started off in Pinam, which we always talk about. And this is huge too, because by Alpha 7 being able to rotate early out of that trifecta, they didn't engage with each other.
Yeah, I think I do remember that was a big issue for them back in the East League, where they were always taking that fight versus BTR. They would lose a lot of time, but now because no one is dropping on them in that position of Pinam, they just have so much more time to get that loot done and start moving in early to get access to those vantage points super quickly.
Do you think there's ever an argument within a team of who plays furthest south so they can be the player picture? The most distinguished player picture?
I think it's Paraboy. He needs that extra presence on camera. He's got a contract going on. But
something I wanted to mention, Max, that we always mention with Nova is how they like to play that middle circle. This right here,
they
completely different. They're playing the edge and they're playing beautiful. And I wonder if we're gonna start seeing more of this. Obviously, it's Sandhawk is a little bit more madness, but I kind of want to see a little bit more of this from Nova in other maps.
I would have to say though, I understand why you want to play edge on the circle, because he talked about it when you saw the circle end towards Paradise. Like, well, you know the blue's going to be a big issue for this one. If Dave was here, it was like Papa Blue's going to be involved. But here they tried to just play the edge. He's going to be involved right after. He's going to be able to talk about that. But here in particular, you're going to be seeing that amazing nade from Order. That's just visual ASMR right there. Chucks it, gets the knock instantly. Boom. That's not the one. That's not the nade I was looking for. A little bit too early, but we're going to have another one. Still able to hit quite a bit of damage, and then he just shows the second nade exactly where he got the initial knock, and just gets a 2-piece instantly.
What I love is how Nova was able to check the player that's getting that off angle right there. They were able to neutralize that right there. Order sees it, steps up, throws the nade, and then they're able to just neutralize that and allow themselves to push up and be aggressive and ultimately get that chicken dinner.
He had 5 eliminations before that fight. I mean, he had a 3-piece on that last fight versus next Rhea. That's just insane. I mean, he's racing for the MVP once again versus Paraboy.
We talked about depth so many times in a team. We talk about Paraboy. Now they have Order. We've seen King last time being able to step up as well. Like this team. And we were mentioning too, chicken dinners. Chicken dinners. Now they got one chicken dinner. Are they going to be able to be that team that finally gives us a back-to-back chicken dinner?
I'm still stuck on Max saying visual ASMR, because wouldn't that just be VSMR? Ooh. Because isn't the A stand for audio?
You know what? That's maybe a new genre we can work on.
Looking at me, I don't think I look the type of guy who has any VSMR capabilities.
I'll watch.
Thank you. At least I get 7 viewers from that. But yeah, no, obviously we're looking at Nova and the fact that they have been able to close out a game. Do we see them like turning the switch on? We talked yesterday, they're being silent. They're just kind of, they're just being there, consistently finishing last. And now it's just kind of like, all right, guys, we gave you a chance on day 1 to pick up some points, but now we're just going to run away with it.
Just like in the East League, they started a little bit slower. They even missed out on the Super Weekend because they wanted a vacation. Now there's no vacation allowed right now. They just take.
They'll take a $1.5 million vacation if they can close things out. But we have to head to a break here while we get things ready to go for our 4th match. So we see you guys at home in just a few.
I saw the first light, the first steps. Now I see much more. I capture Earth in all its beauty. I see action. I see drama. And I see it in the finest detail. Moments of inspiration and the first steps. I am the 1+9.
Homes are now where we work, learn, and, play? Oops. Homes are where we build spaces to call our own. Power on and beyond with Singapore's most trusted broadband.
Welcome back, everyone, here to PMGC 2021. We're into our 2nd day. We're actually past, get this, guys, we're past the halfway point of the entire event now.
You can't see me right now, but I'm dancing.
7, get away from me. What are you doing? 7, stop it. No, he's just dancing. I mean, the thing is, some teams can be dancing, but hopefully not celebrating too early. Order. Max.
Oh, yes.
There it
Like
is.
indirectly, he was trying not to do it, but still did it.
I knew you were going to ask me. I was like, I was
Well,
just waiting.
Okay, well, you know I'm not going to ask anymore. You just ruined it for me.
I'm sorry, Jason.
1,200 damage, though. I mean, Order. Again, this isn't the first time we've seen him step up like this. Thinking back to league stage, he was definitely the number 2 behind Paraboy. He was an integral part in Nova getting as far as they have been so far in this year, and it's amazing to see, right? Because I'm so happy, and obviously it's not against Paraboy, but I don't want to only talk about Paraboy day in and day out. The fact is, he's got a great team behind him as well. In Order, we're seeing him get some on spotlight for him.
I mean, when you're looking back at yesterday, the top fragger of the lobby over those 6 games of yesterday was Frozen with 15, right? He's done about half of that now with one single game here, getting 8 eliminations out of the 9 eliminations total for his team. I mean, I think those eliminations alone might put him first in terms of that race to MVP. I mentioned it earlier, right? But it's good to see that the entire team is doing well, because I had that fear coming out of the East League where Paraboy might be doing the same thing, where it's only him performing, but that got taken care of almost instantly coming in this tournament. So my fears have been addressed really quickly.
As we see some of the players there with Illims, I actually kind of wanted to break down some of the teams in regards to Illims. I mean, we have Navi. Now Navi has 51 Illims. They're currently leading in regards to that. But then the third place team, Enigma Galaxy, they only have 27. DX only 27, and then the Infinity as well only has 26. And then when you go even one more down, then you have ST with 38. I would like to see those 3 teams, Enigma Galaxy, DX, and the Infinity, step it up in regards when it comes to Illims. One player that did step it up there in that last match that we were able to see was Frankie, being able to gather 5 Illims. I think that's huge. Hopefully they can continue on that trend.
Okay, well, does that mean you're putting Xavier as your team to watch here in this match?
That does not mean that. I think that the team to watch, it is going to be one that I mentioned. It is going to be Navi. I am enjoying the consistency. They're finally starting to show us, right, what we've been asking for the longest time. I will love to continue to see this consistency, and I would love even more if they can just continue to get those top 5 situations and at least 5 Illims.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Max? I'm going to skip you for now. For a reason, because I chose Navi as well. I think for me is we're seeing Nova be so damn consistent in this event so far. If Navi want to have a chance to close that gap and catch up to them and ideally pass them, they have to remain as consistent as they've been so far in the day. They need to continue to do so every single match, and obviously we're going to find out if they can.
We talked about no mistakes, right? You can't have any mistakes, Max. Sorry, Max.
I'll just go. It's fine. I get it. It's okay. It's okay. I feel bad for not taking Navi too here, actually, because they were first for like maybe 30 seconds that game at one point in their rankings. It got close, but I'm going to have to go with another team here, and it's Infinity. You mentioned them as they are lacking currently in terms of eliminations. They've had some good moments right now, some little sparks of greatness throughout these few games today, but it's just not been enough to get close to that late game. I hope this might be the one, because Infinity need to get back in the swing of things this game.
I think the thing is, for me, looking at East, right, and going into this, I might get ripped on this a little bit. I thought it was going to become easier for some of these teams with some West teams coming in. I mean, if we just look at like raw mechanical skill, to be fair, Seven's backed me up on this, talking about, you know, like peaking, right? You can peak a lot longer in West than you can in East. But we're not seeing, you know, like Stalwart Esports with their top fraggers. We're not seeing Newsy up there. And God tell you, like Newsy's gone out early a couple of times. We're not seeing them be as dominant as they were in terms of eliminations as they were in the East League. And I don't know if it's just the change up in lobby, maybe change up in styles or what, but if they could hit that previous performance we've seen, we're easily going to see these teams shoot up the rankings.
I'm 100% with you on that one too. And I think it was the sentiment that was shared by the community for the longest time, that maybe this West teams coming in now fighting against the East teams, we're going to make it easier for them, that we're going to be able to gather easier Illims. That is not the case. I mean, even regards East or West, let's talk about the Indian team. Godlike, that team now starting to step it up. They're not anymore in last place. We do have Fernabache there. Hopefully they can step it up, because boy, this is just such a big disappointment. But I 100% agree with you. And I mean, for us to have next Ruya at 1 point as first place, I thought that was huge for the West.
You can talk about Max.
Okay, I can go. Wow, that's actually insane. But no, I agree. It's hard to know exactly down to what you can put this, that the Eastern teams are struggling more versus some teams from West, right? Because I think a lot of people expected the Eastern teams to dominate that far, but I don't really know what down you can put it down to. It's just really hard to go down to the intricacies of it, because the Eastern teams haven't changed really much on their side of things, but it's just maybe the clash of metas making it hard for their meta to really develop and be as successful in this kind of ecosystem. But yeah, I mean, the Eastern teams are having a little bit of a rougher time, and great for some of the teams like Next Freya, they're just popping off right now.
The bottom line is, though, every single team here is like the best teams in the world, right? We talk about, you know, Fenerbahce towards the bottom of the table. They're still a top 16 team in the world. They're not bad whatsoever. They beat out so many great teams to be here. But the fact is, there still is some skill gaps between some of these teams and towards the very top. And obviously, when you look at Nova, it's really not a surprise considering the infrastructure we have within China with PELs and PECs. They play against the best teams consistently in the world, and that's why China's seen as such a dominant region. But if we look at, for instance, you know, the Arabic teams, if we have, you know, Enigma Galaxy, we've seen so many more PMPLs develop over the course of this year, giving that infrastructure to regions who didn't have it before, that we've seen so much improvement out of these teams. Look at Damwon Gaming, like South Korea with Archer last year, didn't really make it that far, and they didn't make it to the finals. And we've seen them step up. We saw, you know, Bluebees then, Reject now, they had a massive step up, and we're seeing like this impact of having more PMPLs around the world, more opportunities for these teams to play, that we are seeing this catch up. I mean, would you have ever said 2 years ago we'd have 3 Turkish teams make it into PMGC Grand Finals? It was always just footballists.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had Class Digital Athletics, of course, that came in at some point. But it is true that right now there's a very big rise of the regions that was maybe overlooked for some big portion of the competitive scene for the past 2 to 3 years now. It's good to see them step up, but it's really weird to see the catch-up being that significant when you have teams, and one team that we wanted to potentially talk at the start of the show we didn't mention, right, but is Team Secret in my eyes. They have been extremely silent, and currently when it comes to these international tournaments, it's potentially the team with 2 of the players with the most experience at this type of level, with iShots and Matoy, and yet they're not performing to the level we initially expected. So the regions that were looked down upon in the past now are going for that trophy, and they're aiming for that first spot.
7 always looked up to those regions.
Yeah,
you guys are talking about regions that have improved. Let's talk about real quick about regions that didn't improve. There are some regions here, and I have to do it. There's some big regions that didn't even make it here to the Grand Finals. One that I can go off, it's because I usually talk about them a lot, North America. North America is nowhere to be seen here, and I know that's a big hurt to the community, and hopefully they'll be able to bounce back right next year. And then you have Indonesia.
Thank you.
Bigatron. I mean, we were talking about it on the first day. It feels so weird not having Indonesia in here. Bigatron, I mean, Luxy, Suxy, this is players that are just household names. And I was getting used to seeing that Indo Pride in the chat and in the YouTube chat. It's nowhere to be seen. And I mean, some of the other regions have been able to take full advantage of it.
I mean, the fact is, if you look across, let's just say these last 3 years at the highest level, the global scale, right? We've seen so many new players and so many new teams come into light. And the fact is, and we saw this last year alone when we were doing PMPLs and stuff, is that there's so much depth in talent across the world that we just haven't seen yet. We haven't seen teams be having that dominant legacy like we had